We need more cameras than a phone if you're gonna do that.
What?
We're live. Okay.
Well, I wasn't ready. Okay.
Get ready.
All right, it is 6 p.m. on June 17th at the Tocqueville City Council Hall Chambers. We will call this meeting to order. Before we even get to the approval of the agenda, I've got to change the order of number 2 and number 3. We will have Councilman Olson lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and Councilwoman Chamberlain do the statements of belief and opening prayer. We'll proceed at that point.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we're grateful that we could gather this evening to discuss the affairs of Tocqueville City. We ask thee to please grant us thy wisdom and guidance as we make decisions. We're grateful for all those whose efforts have brought our agenda together and who are working to build our town. We pray that we will be able to remain united as a community and be full of joy and prosperity. We're very grateful for the many blessings we've been given, and we say these things in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Thank you. Okay, B, approval of the agenda, approval of the order, the agenda order. Do we have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as it is.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Disclosures and declarations of conflicts from the council members or mayor. Anything on the agenda that there's a conflict?
Nope.
All right. Consent agenda, review and possible approval of the meeting minutes from June 3rd, 2026 council meeting. All the council members have an opportunity to review the minutes.
I have,
Good.
I thought they looked good, so I move that we approve the meeting minutes from June 3rd city council meeting.
Have a motion. Do I have a second? Second. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain?
I'm abstaining.
All right, review and possible approval of city expenditures from May 2026. Has everybody had a chance to review it?
Mayor, make a motion to approve the expenditures of May 2026.
You have a
I
motion?
second the motion.
And a second, roll call?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion passes. Reports, I'm going to start out with this one from council board members and can add mayor to that. Had a couple requests for things from different cities. One from St. George, it was from Switch Point, which is a homeless facility there. It was asking all the cities in the county if they could possibly give funding for that. My initial to the facility was, at this point, we're asking our citizens for a tax increase. And I'm a bit uncomfortable asking to donate to a charity when we're increasing your taxes, but I'd entertain putting it on a later agenda. They're requesting from Tocqueville $5,000 for this year. So if we have a council member who'd like to put that on the next agenda for discussion, we could do that. I give them my initial feeling as mayor, but. Okay. The other thing that came was St. George City is expanding their airport. They are asking the mayors, and I thought they were only asking the mayors, not the city, but I felt it best we bring it to the council to support them getting about 2/3 of the TRT money for a bond they're doing on the expansion of the airport for 20 years. So my concern with that is we were looking at for Tocqueville Reservoir, trying to get TRT money. Some of the mayors asked St. George's mayor if we signed, all the mayors signed that, stating support for that, if they would not come back for additional TRT money during that period, which they would not commit to do. So I told them, from a mayor's standpoint, I would not feel comfortable signing that. So Any other feelings in that from the council?
They wanted, yeah.
They want all the mayors in Washington County to sign supporting them getting the TRT money for the expansion of the airport for their bond for the next 20 years. It's about 2/3 of the TRT money.
2/3 of the TRT money for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
You said that they wouldn't.
I said, as mayor, I would not support it. I would not sign it because we're at, with them not committing to not come back for additional. That, and we're gonna, for the first time, go in for TRT money. I would not feel comfortable signing it. So that's more of a statement of my stance on that, I think.
No, you're saying from a lot of information because I do got the business in that.
All right. The other thing is the mayor of Leeds and I met with the sheriff over, one of the citizens brought up the drug task force that we pay $10,000 a year to. Mayor Peterson and I went down and met with the sheriff, asked what services we get out of that, what areas they work. And if we did not give to that, if it would have a negative impact on the sheriff's department. The sheriff stated that they've had trouble getting the lead officers in that are from St. George. They've had trouble getting them out of the St. George area. And any incidents in Tokerville would be handled by the county. And it would not have a negative impact on the county if we did not put in for that task force. So my suggestion would be that we withdraw from that. It was, again, I just have to put into the sheriff that would like to withdraw. I've already mentioned it to him. I haven't done it formally, and also mentioned it to one of our county commissioners.
So I agree, if we don't get that service, we don't pay for it.
I say that's like about 10,000.
Yeah. So I have made a recommendation to Ben that we roll that over and roll that money into the code enforcement and line in the budget. Right now, we're not tracking their time on code enforcement, so I've asked that we track all of their time on code enforcement to that budget line item. So. And just an update, I have contacted state and federal surplus about generators to try and get generators for our pumps for our wells. I'll update the status on that if we get further down the road. Any other council members have reports?
We got a couple, Mayor. Mosquito board, so they're in the full fighting mosquitoes. So for our residents and stuff, if you are getting bit, call and have a service call from the district and they'll come out. There's no charge as part of your taxes. And then the Hurricane Valley Fire Board, which I reported on last month, we're looking to do a $22 million lease revenue bond for the purpose of building fire stations. Right now, they've got slated five fire stations, which we talked about before, which was here in Firelight, Kolob, Virgin, another one in Hurricane, and then the administration and fire building that's going in at San Hollow. So that's what that bond is. It's a lease revenue bond. It's 26-year term. And the goal is that it be paid by the impact fees the fire department receives. There is a public hearing on July 9th at the next fire commission meeting, if anybody in the public wants to come and speak on it. And so that is July 9th at 6 o'clock.
Did they state whether that would drive a tax increase or not?
No, the goal is to use impact fees. And then the collateral is the building and land. So, but this revenue bond is strictly for the building. Doesn't include equipment, doesn't include personnel, all that kind of stuff, which the district will have to figure out how we're doing that. And then the only other thing is, the Wildland Division of the fire department is out in the Arizona Strip on the Dellen fire.
Okay.
So they get tasked with mutual aid, I guess is the best way to say it. And they do get revenue back from assisting at those fires. So that's all I got.
Any other council members?
Yes, I attended the board meeting via Zoom while I was gone. And they, for the solid waste, and they because they get so busy and they just have the one lane for most citizens to go through, they proposed a couple of meetings ago to turn that, they had the one outside lane that was if you had a card or something, you know, like the garbage trucks show a card as they go through, and they don't have to wait and be weighed and everything. But they added another booth there, so now they have 2 lanes for when they get really busy, so that, and that's up and running. Solid waste, yeah. So that's good.
Any other council members? Well, I'll make one where our attorney isn't here. We've, since I've been with the city, we've had 3 active lawsuits. One of those was appealed to the Court of Appeals. We were just notified that that one has been dismissed, so currently we have 2 active lawsuits still going. So that's, all right, we will go on to E. Draft 2026 Transportation Master Plan from Sunrise Engineering.
Okay, Jeff Mortimer prepared this report, and he's going to present, it should be on Zoom.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Perfect. Well, thanks for having me. I wish I could be there in person, but thankful for technology that allows me to make this work. So for those of you who aren't aware of some of the background on this project, the Transportation Master Plan for Toquerville, Toquerville was awarded TPA, Technical Planning Assistance funding for this project in May of 2024. Since then, the project funding was made available in July of 2024. And then we continued with our kickoff and coordination shortly after. A little bit after we got started on the project, it was decided to put this on hold while the Toquerville Parkway was being constructed. And so that pushed us back quite a bit in getting started. The main data collection finally got started in October of 2025 for this project, although we did have some progress meetings and some coordination during the time where we were postponing to talk about things like cross sections for Toquerville and roadway networks and GIS mapping and things like that. This is on your screen. You can see the current draft. The draft that you guys were sent is, as of right now, just a little bit outdated. So there are a couple of new things in this draft that I'm showing that might not show up in the draft that you guys were sent. However, I just figured I'd kind of go through the draft as it is, and then if there are questions, you guys can feel free to ask any questions you might have. We've tried to make the document as navigable as possible, so all these table of contents, list of figures, list of tables are easily navigable and linked to their different sections. As we go through, we provide several GIS maps, and just let me know if you can't see things, if I need to zoom in more. So we've got overview maps. One of the efforts that we did was collecting and reviewing several planning efforts that were previously done. So whether that was the Washington County Transportation Master Plan, the Toquerville City General Plan, different corridor studies, or different development master plans. We tried to gather up those documents so that we could coordinate and be applicable to those as well, including the Utah Unified Transportation Master Plan. As we go through, we talk about planning inputs. So this is including zoning and land use planning. We've had several conversations with city staff about future developments that are coming in and development interest in the city to help us plan for the future and what kind of growth you guys are seeing. And that way we can start to model and see what kind of projects are going to be necessary in the future. We collected zoning information. Some of these are still being finalized, future zoning maps and land use maps. We discussed socioeconomic data. This has to do with the travel demand modeling, projecting what kind of traffic volumes we're going to be seeing on the local network. And so we discussed employment and households information to have that updated through 2045, which is the horizon year of this transportation master plan. And we go into functional classification and roadway network information. So this discusses different functional classifications of roads, including arterial roadways and collector roadways, as well as local roadways. We discuss what their purpose is, what they're planned to do. There's a balance between mobility and land access when you're talking about functional classifications of roads. So we wanted to make sure that we were planning the future roadway network according to how the city would like it to function and how we would want to disperse traffic in the future on what roadways. This is a map of the existing functional classification for Tokerville. And then, yeah, go ahead.
So remember, this is a draft. Remember, this is a draft. You guys are looking at it. You're going to be able to have the opportunity now to put your input into it. So
I guess where they got their information is not correct on this map.
what are we talking about?
Road widths and things like that.
For road widths?
Yeah. You got certain roads in the wrong category here.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Yeah,
that's
so
why I say
if
this
there's
is
things that are-
like, this is the first draft that we're presenting. And that's why we gave it to you 2 weeks ago, is to kind of take a look at, start giving some input, and definitely talk to us about what you're thinking here. And now these are existing, and then the future of the next maps. So, sorry, go ahead there, Jeff, or if you had other questions, sorry, Wayne, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Now,
Yeah.
existing's wrong, the future's wrong. Because you can't make these roads that you're thinking you're gonna make collectors because they're not wide enough for you. So we need to look at those.
You got specific,
Right, so, yeah, go ahead.
you're saying you got specific ones, Wayne, that you're pointing at, or?
The same one, that's always the same one for me.
So-
It's only a 49.5 or maybe 50-foot road, and to be a minor collector, it has to be 72 feet wide. And you're
No.
bringing a minor collector all the way from SR
A
7.
minor collector is 60 feet wide.
It doesn't matter, you only got a 50-foot wide road. Unless you're gonna come and put an enemy on both sides and take,
Which road are we talking
Are you
about?
talking about Old Church Road?
yeah. It's not an existing minor collector, nor can it be a minor collector. But that's the one it references many times in here is that is the future collector for Tokerville, and it can't happen. Those streets.
Yeah, and so this is one of the conversations I had with Jeff on that before, was basically, as you know, the existing transportation master plan that exists with the city, it shows that. And I said, well, let's keep it there, and let's let the city council's planning commission have the opportunity to comment on these things. So
Yeah, I think.
I appreciate that. So it's not necessarily wrong,
Measure those
but
streets.
it's like, I intentionally put some things in there to spur some conversation and get those, because we want your comments and your input. on
So Darren,
creating
how,
this.
how do you envision that coming on? We'll go through some verbal things now and getting with you on, go through it and highlight and write it and get it to you later? Is that-
I would say that we can print some things out, some of these maps that you're talking about, and let's definitely redline those. Come in and sit down with me, and let's just do that.
Okay.
Yeah, I definitely want
What's
to
your
do that.
timeline on when you want it done?
Well, we were trying to get things done by the end of June. We're still got to go to we still got to go to planning commission, and for their review. So we're probably going to be in August, so that's what I'm saying. This is the first time you're seeing it.
Right.
No, this is, we want you to see this and look at it and have your input. We don't want you to just see it a week before and say, okay, please adopt this.
So if the council could go through it and get something back by Friday next week,
Yeah, that would be awesome. Or if
That'd
you'd
be fine
like
for
to
you.
come and sit down with
you
me,
guys should think?
yeah.
Are we discussing it now with Wayne's concerns? I've got concerns, so we're discussing it now?
I'd say, yeah, do it early now and then we'll document it.
You're literally gonna have to go out and measure all the streets because there's some misinformation on how wide you think these streets can be. And that's existing and for our future, because if you're planning future, it's not gonna work.
Yeah, I would say let's maybe have the full presentation and then let's just
Sounds
have
good.
a
Let's
discussion.
finish the presentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't mind, that would probably, if there's other questions, comments, just make some notes and let's talk about them as soon as we get done with that.
All right.
Because
Go
it is
ahead.
discussion.
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, there's room for changes. This is in no way concrete, so we can make changes as we go through. The initial idea here between the existing functional classification of roadways and the future functional classification of roadways was to look at the future development of Tokerville and then provide as close as we could, a grid type network that would disperse traffic along those the minor arterials, in a good way, or a more uniform way, so that we're spreading that traffic out instead of concentrating it on specific roadways. So some of those roadways are in here, classified as functional class as collectors, or really major collectors and minor collectors. There's also room for what we consider legacy cross sections. So even though, yes, we do call it out as a minor collector or major collector here, and we realize that some roadways, their existing cross sections are not going to change unless something, some big redevelopment happens on those areas. But from a spacing standpoint and a connectivity standpoint, some of these were suggested as collector roadways. But still, there's room for change. As we go through, we also have a Class C. We wanted to make sure we were updating the Class C roadway inventory so that the city could update its mileage reporting so that it can utilize as much of the Class B and C road funds as possible. So we do provide those, that mapping and those totals in this as part of this transportation master plan. This is a high level view, and then there are more detailed views in the appendix. We have other inventory items such as intersection control types. So just mapping out what intersections, how they're controlled, mostly stop signs, and then the single signal. As well as speed limit inventory items. So if there's any changes in here, we can make note of that, and it's easy to change. We've had, some conversations on some changes already, so we can change any of those pretty easily. One of the conversations that we had was about typical cross sections. There were various locations within code that contradicted what those typical cross sections were. So part of this was to look at those, to recommend updates to bring things so that they align well. And so we've got in the appendix, we've got a table that summarizes those updates, as well as some exhibits that show what those cross sections look like. And again, open to comments and changes on those. And we can go through those as well. The roadway network analysis. So the basis of the roadway network analysis was from the Dixie MPO travel demand model. We use the the volume projections from the model to help us understand how these intersections, especially along the parkway, are going to be operating, and what type of volume we're going to be seeing with the development that's being projected in, on the west side of town, and where that traffic is anticipated to go. What kind of level of service are we going to be seeing on those roadways in the future? This helps us understand, if we need to provide alternative routes for that traffic to go, and make suggestions, especially regionally, if there's, if we need to maybe increase the need or show that a certain connection is needed in the future. This is a map of the different traffic counts that we took throughout Tokerville. These were all turn movement counts, so we went to the individual intersections and counted, gathered a full 24-hour turn movement counts at each of these locations, and help us understand what the current level of service at those intersections is. If you're not familiar with level of service, this is kind of how we show level of service, obviously. So for intersections, it's different than roadway segments. This is kind of a description or an exhibit that shows how you might visualize a level of service, different level of service for a roadway segment, where you can see that there's, ABC, there's very little restriction there. It's low restriction and high maneuverability. And then as you work through, speed slow down until you get to a heavily congested traffic when you get into the ENF. So for Tokerville, we've used level of service D as kind of a threshold of, this is where we want to start to consider, what kinds of mitigations we might need to plan for. Everything in the A, B, and C categories are typically ideal. And then once we get into E and F, we've gone beyond capacity, and we need to look a little bit more seriously into mitigations that are needed. This is kind of summarizing the capacity levels for those different levels of service on the roadway segments based off of the updated cross sections. So if we need to make changes to the cross sections, we can certainly go in and update some of the capacity numbers as well. This is summarizing intersections. So for intersection, level of service is based off of, for when you have a stop controlled or a roundabout, it's based off of the worst turn movement. And then for signalized intersections, it's based off of delay for the whole intersection. So we've got some of these still being finalized for the roadway segment level of service. This is the existing level of service for intersections at those intersections that we collected on. You can see that the two or three main intersections that are at a level of service C are up here on the north, and then these intersections on the south end of the city. Most of these ones down here on the south are due to high through traffic. And even though there's not a lot of minor road traffic, just because of the high through traffic, it's causing some of those turn movements to be a level of service C. So that's why you'll see those. So these figures are still being finalized for the future level of service, roadway segment levels of service.
Can I ask a quick question on
This study, go ahead.
On your existing level of service, and the one that just jumped out at me is you're showing a C for Westfield and the bypass road. When was this done? Because that's not even connected.
No, this up here, this is an A, if this is what you're talking
No,
about
no,
here.
go down, go clear down toward the bottom of that, your first C.
That one, right, oh, you were there almost there, Jeff, to your left.
What is it?
Left.
The B,
There's, yeah, is it B?
right here.
It's a level B.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the counts were collected this intersection, but it doesn't include the traffic on this side, so it is there, but it's.
so it's primarily
It
construction
had
traffic going in.
it was like construction traffic or
Oh,
whatever,
okay.
so
That's what I
it
was,
wasn't,
all right.
it's not, yeah,
It's the trucks going in and out of Indigo, essentially.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And at the time, there wasn't many at that time that they did the counts. The
Well,
count-
it's showing that there is, but
Yeah.
on existing. That's why I was asking. That's.
Yeah.
I would have expected that on a future, but not on an existing, but, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so we also have a summary of the crash data within Tokerville. There wasn't a recurring pattern of crashes that required mitigations. Although we can see where those crashes are focused here. And this includes I-15 within that area. So taking away any of the I-15, most of those are obviously, they're focused on the Tokerville Boulevard. And at this time, there's not really any information for Tokerville Parkway. So I assume that a lot of that will continue to change, kind of morph as traffic kind of normalizes along the parkway, and that we might see different patterns. So we would recommend that the crash data be reevaluated to pinpoint any other mitigations that might need to happen in the future as those patterns continue to change. So this just kind of highlights some of those, obviously SR-17, Tokerville bypass intersection, access safety. We just want to point out some of the main reasons for crashes. We recognize that there was wildlife related incidents and nighttime low light visibility, and then weather and surface conditions that were part of that crash data. So this is discussion on mitigation strategies. Obviously, there's lots of different mitigations that can be done when we're talking about intersections versus roadway segments and capacities and safety improvements. Adding travel lanes is obviously, one. Installing two-way left turn lanes, geometry improvements at different intersections. Those are things that we're looking into as we're looking at those, the final volume projections on the roadway segments. We have a brief discussion on different alternative modes of transportation. Freight traffic is one of those that we discuss. We're pinpointing, kind of mapping truck routes. As part of this map, we would suggest also marking. So this would act as more of a regional route, the I-15 and then Tokerville bypass. If there's any other local truck routes that you want to identify, we can change those. But right now, this is the main truck route, is the Tokerville bypass. We have a brief discussion on transit. Not a whole lot, but we do include some discussion there. Active transportation. So this one is a little bit more involved. So we have had several conversations about sidewalks, about what kinds of trails the city might want to include within their active transportation section. This gives kind of a brief description of active transportation infrastructure, such as bike lanes and buffered bike lanes, side paths and shared use trails. And then we go into the mapping. So we've got existing active transportation identified here. Obviously, if there's any changes we need to make, just let us know. So this mainly marks out sidewalks that exist here in Tokerville. And you can see this is a more zoomed in version, and then this out here is a more zoomed out version.
Hey, Jeff, just one real quick
Yeah.
question. I wanted to let the council know that this is something that I kind of pushed a little bit heavier, so he concentrated on some of this, which, your transportation master plan doesn't include this much. And this is a very small portion of what our transportation master plan. They'll include a level of some sort of a active transportation. And does everybody understand what active transportation is? It's basically it's bicycles, walking, hiking, trails, those types of things. So we worked, and I've been working with Jeff for the last probably 4 months, just working on the exhibit maps. Go ahead, sorry. I just wanted to clarify that we put a little bit more.
Thanks for that.
So don't think that this is our active transportation plan. It's not. That would be a separate document.
Yeah. So we move into the future active transportation. So here we've taken some of the capital improvement projects that were already planned and put those within this active transportation map. We've also identified areas where there are gaps in the sidewalk network that would be beneficial to connect to. So you'll see later on in the capital improvement projects plan, the list, you'll see several of these projects. So you've got existing trail and side paths as solid purple, and then you've got future as these kind of dashed lines. And we did, in discussions with Darren, we've tried to identify some of these trails and side paths that would be beneficial to run parallel or adjacent to some of these main roadways to give better connection, more regional connection in Tokerville as far as active transportation
And
goes.
we did not include the information that Firelight is doing in all their communities and different things, because it would have been more. It would have been more than what we needed. So
That will be covered in the other plan, right?
it would be an enacted, yes, exactly. There'd be a lot more detail and depth of that in another plan.
Okay.
That's why you're not seeing
The
those.
highlight you got.
And when you see a line like those dashed purple line, that just means the general location.
Right.
That doesn't mean exactly where we're going to put it.
Yeah.
As things develop and
Yes.
grow and things, or as we get easements or we get a donation of property to include a trail or whatever.
Yeah, same goes for the future roadway network. None of those alignments are exact. They're just representative of what, functional classifications we would like to have. But the exact alignments and things like that are negotiable when there's more detail and as development comes in. We move into our capital improvement project list. So some of these discussions we discussed with Darren based off of these future network maps, what road connections or what developments are going to be coming within the 0 to 5 and 6 to 10 year time periods. And those are the roadways that we're trying to plan for ahead of time. Most of these costs, if we're talking about, when we're talking about new roads, we assume that the developer is going to be paying for a minimum local cross-section. And then anything above that minimum local cross-section is something that the city would pay for if they wanted it built out to its full cross-section. And so you'll see some of that when we're talking about city and developer. It's usually the city's portion is the portion that's remaining after the developer pays their minimum local cross section.
So, and this is purely new stuff, not maintenance, correct?
So we have taken some of the capital improvement project list and added those projects in here. So you do see road reconstruction projects in here as well as new roads. So we have added some of that information in there. We haven't, as part of this transportation master plan, there wasn't a scope to do a full pavement management plan.
All right.
But we've included any projects that the city already had planned for road reconstructions. Then we have our active transportation. And we've also assumed some of the funding sources for some of these active transportation. Most of these are kind of fall into the transportation alternative program. So TAP, and we assume kind of a local match would be required when seeking funding in those for those programs. So here we've assumed a city proportion of 20%. Obviously, those that can change depending on when and what funding is available at the time. We've also tried to include any of the UDOT or DMPO projects. We try to include those in to make sure that we're accounting for those and connecting to them appropriately. So yeah, I believe your guys' version doesn't have the capital improvement projects map. This is the one for roads. So that can be coupled with to kind of help identify where those projects are. And then we have a separate one for trails and sidewalks. So this would be kind of more of the active transportation capital improvement projects. We go into kind of the funding section, and this is just really just kind of describing some of the funding sources that might be available and how that might apply to Tocqueville. We do have a section that discusses transportation utility fee, which is a rather new thing for most cities. So if there's questions on the transportation utility fee items and things like that, feel free to ask me, and we can go into more detail, or we can do less detail if you don't want as much detail in the transportation master plan for that. As before, so part of this was to kind of look at some of the transportation related ordinances in the city and some of the standards that are required. So we looked at kind of traffic impact study requirements and kind of established some updated requirements. We try to keep our requirements close, very similar to what UDOT would require for their traffic impact studies. And if you're not familiar with traffic impact studies, typically a TIS is required when a development comes in, so that they can show what kind of impact their development is going to have on the local network, roadway network, and what kind of improvements might be necessary for them to construct because of their development. So this just outlines some of those requirements. Obviously, larger developments require more detail, more data and larger studies. Smaller ones might not require as much. We've also included, as part of this, a traffic statement for developments that are even smaller and may not even have even a measurable impact on the roadway network. So this is something that the developers can fill out. They can fill out the information on their development and present that to the city, and the city can decide whether or not that TIS, a full TIS, is actually necessary for that development. We've also included that traffic statement in the appendix. The form for it is in the appendix. So these sections just go through the different categories of TIS and the different requirements and outlines of each category of TIS. Then we go into kind of access management. So in order for your functional classification, your roadways to function the way they're supposed to, this is where, access management is really key, because you want to balance, direct access to properties versus allowing traffic to flow through roads. So for your local roads, you want to prioritize direct access to properties and to homes, residential areas. As you move up into the collectors and arterials, you want to get more restrictive on the types of accesses that you allow on those roadways so that they can continue to function as they're supposed to. So these standards kind of help make sure that in the future your roadways are going to function as they're planned to. So here we go through, we actually discuss, I have an inventory based off of UDOT's access categories for the Tokerville Boulevard. And then this is just a quick overview of the access spacings and whether they're compliant or non-compliant with UDOT standards. So here, obviously on Tokerville Boulevard, things are red. Most of these standards, it's likely these standards were put into place after the fact. So this is a very common thing to see in cities. But it just gives you, as redevelopment happens or development happens in certain areas, you can try to consolidate or try to, close off certain accesses and just manage those access points so that road can hopefully improve as the area grows. Or for roadways that are just being built, you can start out with them, kind of managing those accesses and hopefully not have this issue in the future. So these different tables, they just kind of summarize some of the standards for access spacings, what types of, what type of space do we want between our driveways, the type of driveway, what type of like signal spacing, street spacings, and commercial access spacings, as well as, what type of access do we want to allow on major collectors versus minor collectors. And then discussion on corner clearance and when and how to use, cross access and shared access standards, as well as, offset intersections, how to handle those, and intersection site distance. So just making sure that we can, at each intersection, we're not causing visibility issues and furthering any safety issues on those. As well as on-street parking, kind of managing where on-street parking might be allowed. And then we get to the appendix, and the appendix has several items. So it has, like I said before, kind of a more detailed Class C road system maps. It has the typical cross sections that we discussed. So here's the updated table for the typical cross sections. And here's some exhibits that go along with those typical cross sections. And again, we can update these as you guys make comments and see things that you want to change. We can get these all updated. Then there's more detail as far as the traffic counts that were collected. We have the raw data for those counts within the appendix as well. So that's a section that's pretty long. And then in the future, we'll have the detailed PTV Vistra reports, which is the software that was used to analyze the intersections and the level of service for those intersections. And then here's your traffic statement form. Any of this can be reviewed and revised. And then we have kind of the last item in the appendix is some illustrations that show some of those access management standards and kind of what those, just illustrating some of those standards. And that's the current draft. So yes, please, if you have questions, let me know, and we can certainly have further meetings to discuss more details and comments. So.
I want to make one statement just because I know one of my constituents is going to call me because you keep calling it Tokerville Boulevard. But you switch back and forth between Tokerville Boulevard and Toker Boulevard. It is just Toker Boulevard. You got to
Toker Boulevard, okay.
Yeah, you've got to label both ways on your drawings, but
Okay,
And in,
all right.
and in the text,
yeah.
and in the text also.
Okay.
Yep.
Toker Boulevard, got it.
We have a few people who are pretty sensitive about that one, so let's clear that one up.
We'll make sure that gets updated.
Yeah, and the rest of it, I think I'll just make some notations on and get it to you, Darren. Is
Yeah, that would be great. We've still got some meetings and things that we need to do with Jeff and Vern and go over some of the things that I have, because like I said, this is our first draft. This is, you guys pretty much got to see it when I saw it as a draft form. Up to that point, I've been just working on the maps and different things like that. And like I said, some of the things that we have there were left that way intentionally because I wanted to spur some comments and questions.
Now, you said the minor collector is 60, and then it says
Well,
75.
a minor can be, yeah, so there's some things, so if you go look at our minor collectors in our standards and specs, this is what he was talking about, is the inconsistencies between some of the things we've noticed in our ordinance to our standard and specs to our standard drawings. So we're,
And some of that you
some of
wanna call
those,
that
yeah,
out.
some of those things I'm going to be working on, like so in your draft right now, you see right there, there's, this is the first time I've seen that one, but I haven't seen the exhibits right below it. So there's some things, like I say, we wanted to bring this to you guys and the planning commission as well. I don't want anybody to feel like, hey, what are you doing? Without, it's ultimately it becomes the city council that adopts this. So I want everybody to be able to understand. And, I'm not professing to be a traffic engineer by any means. So if I don't know the answers to the questions, I'll get it and get back to you. But definitely throw me the questions. Or right now you have a perfect opportunity to talk to the guy who's been drafting the plan.
Yeah, I'd rather go through and highlight it and mark it up.
Okay, so I went through it and I got a couple comments, questions. So appreciate the mayor catching Tokerville Boulevard. That was an easy catch. When I went through this, it seemed to me that the focus was more on Toker Boulevard being SR 17 and not so much on the bypass. So some of the stuff that I went through here noticed is that hits heavily on what's occurring along SR 17 where we're not in compliance, things like that. So, and I don't see anything really along Tokerville Parkway, as far as how the upcoming developments are going to impact Tokerville Parkway. I don't see anything addressing the speed limit on the parkway. I don't see anything current addressing the parkway traffic counts. Your counts are from back 6 months ago, and you try driving the parkway now and see the counts. It's way different. So that's a concern I have with some of the stuff in here. One of the other concerns I have is you talk about the parkway being freight route, trucks and things like that. So they're already using, it's already an impact on our residents. It's an impact on the people using the parkway when they get stuck behind these trucks that are unable to maintain even close to adequate speed. So I don't see any of that addressed in here. I also don't see anything addressed safety-wise with large trucks coming downhill or toward the Borkin I know one of the things that has been brought to the council is the fact that they don't want them using exhaust brakes and stuff. Well, how are they supposed to maintain safe speeds if they're not supposed to use their exhaust brakes? So that's another issue that I don't see addressed in here. I understand, you know, you gave us a lot of parameters and stuff on, you know, if X happens, Y happens, and if Y happens, Z happens. But I'm looking for more concrete stuff. So, you know, when is it along the parkway, are we gonna need to add additional traffic signals? When is that gonna happen? What's the counts? How are we gonna know concrete wise? Well, yeah, maybe we need a traffic signal coming out of Zion Parkway. Maybe we need a traffic signal at the intersection of Toker Boulevard and the Parkway. Maybe we need a signal at the top portion coming out of Anderson Junction going into Toker Boulevard. And none of that stuff has been addressed that I can see.
Yeah.
What's that in here?
That's you, Lot.
Yeah, no, okay, so let me finish. So the other thing that I don't see in this survey is we have not talked about what's gonna happen when the goal of the city, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong, but the goal of the city is that the city takes back Toker Boulevard and UDOT takes over the Parkway. I don't see any of that stuff addressed in here. So,
That's in my comments as well.
okay, so I'm not seeing any of that stuff in here. So those are some of the concerns. The other concern, one of the other things that you guys brought up is you brought up crash data. And I guess it's too soon to get crash data off the Parkway, but I don't know if your crash data can be more specific. You didn't, all I see is, okay, we had a bunch of accidents here. But it's not broken down to, well, we had an accident involving wildlife, we had a head-on collision, we had an accident that was a result of speed, we had an accident as a result of illegal passing. Any of that stuff is not here where we can evaluate. You're giving us the crash data, but how do I evaluate that? Yeah, there's a bunch of crashes. Maybe there was a whatever. But I'm unable to determine the safety and whether that would affect the speed limits on Toker, on SR 17 as it's called right now. So
Right.
none of that stuff is addressed. I mean, it's 60, which is what it was before, but if we're trying to track, and then this is not adapted either, if we're trying to track our traffic on the Parkway, you know, we are not addressing the trucks where you get stuck behind. The speed limit's 60 on Toker Boulevard going up toward Anderson Junction, and it's 50 coming down the Parkway both directions. Maybe the Parkway speed limit's too slow. I don't see that addressed in here. I mean, everybody else is going faster than what the speed limit is that I notice. People are making illegal passes, people are tailgating. None of that stuff's been addressed. So those are just, I went through this whole thing, and those are just a fraction of some of the comments I have.
Do you guys know how current is UDOT's crash data now? I know it used to be a year behind on the stats on the contributing factors. Is it more up to date now?
Yeah.
2025, so the most recent data you see in that table is 2024.
Okay, but they actually call out the contributing factors in their data. And here you're just
Yeah.
showing the crashes.
Yeah, we can summarize in more
Okay.
detail the types of crashes and that's accounted for in the initial analysis, but we can show it in more detail in the report.
Well, and that's going with
Yeah, we can do
Commissioner's comments, council members' comments about it, because I know the state tracks the contributing factor and type of crash. So it's just getting into that detail and breaking it out.
Yeah.
So Jeff, just one question I guess I have there then, as we talk about the transportation master plan, do we, is it appropriate that we put some of these things that Councilman Sands talking about? I don't know, because
So
some of the things he was asking
So
for, I've
we
never heard
can
of.
we can easily summarize the types of crashes, right? We can
Right.
summarize the types of crashes that we're seeing in certain areas. That's not a problem. Now, as far as the transportation master, typically what we do is we'd be looking at the crashes at a total over the city and looking at where they are where we are seeing more crashes in a certain area or at a certain intersection, or where we're noticing a certain type of crash, like a rear end, a front to rear crash or an angle crash, that is a reoccurring pattern. And so for the Transportation Master Plan, most of our goal is to identify if there's recurring patterns that we can then suggest mitigations to help improve those areas. So
I think that's where Councilman Sands was trying to head is, if it's a wildlife crash, do we need to put higher wildlife fences in?
Well,
Is it crosswalks? If it's pedestrians, do we need to put crosswalks?
Yeah, and
What
I
lighting?
agree. I don't disagree one bit with that. I think that's wonderful. As I look at a transportation master plan from the engineering aspect of it, I'm looking at some of the things that Todd was talking about is what is the counts? What are they looking at? What are we looking at for firelight in the future? Now, one thing though, as Jeff was talking about, he's talking about the TIS traffic impact studies. We require that as each one of these developments come in. We've already gotten 2, I believe, from you guys. One overall and one that talks about a little bit more in depth with the Indigo. And then as they bring in 4 through whatever, we'll have some there as well. So I can't see that the city needs to spend that much detail. But as developments happen and as they happen, as Anderson Junction grows and different things such out there, we're going to continue to ask for all those. I've asked for those same studies, those traffic impact studies for Solara, for Boulder Ridge. We actually had Sapp Brothers did one as well. The multiple things that we did when we developed the new bypass, or when we rerouted state routes. Highway 91 there, and made it 1700 north, and then it ties back in. So those are some of the details that I don't believe that a transportation master plan would have in it. Am I wrong?
Well, I'm going, if you're going to the TIS that they're doing, they're looking at flows and volumes primarily.
Correct. And we want to see that generally overall.
If you're looking at a master plan for the city, then you've taken more of account of lighting, everything else that's got to go with it. And if you're having a certain type of crash in a certain area,
Yes.
That's typical for that area, I would think it'd be here, but maybe not in the TIS.
Yes,
They
I
won't
get
know
you.
that.
I get you 100%. And I agree that the crashes are important. So,
What's the
So
length?
just to,
What's the length of this master plan? I mean, how long are we projecting out, and when would we have to do it again?
it goes, usually it's typically recommended to update your TMP every 5 years.
Okay.
yeah. And when I worked in Hurricane 4 years ago, we updated it as I left. As I was leaving, they were finishing it up, and they've just started a new one now. So, development's happening fairly quickly. So sometimes development outpaces your, just like our other plans that we have, it outpaces what we have.
5 years is an average. Sometimes if things are changing faster, you might need to go sooner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just to kind of address some of those comments from before, you're talking about kind of the impacts that it has on the intersections. If you look at what I'm sharing my screen right now, and this is something that we're still finalizing, and some of those exhibits that were missing because they're still being finalized here. But we're working on kind of looking at each of these locations where we collected data. Obviously here you can see the level of service currently at these intersections, but we're working on having these finalized for those future years too, so that we can start to see, okay, by 2030 at this intersection, based off of the growth that we've projected in the travel demand model and making some assumptions, this is when we're starting to see, certain intersections start to fail, or, so we see, some of these areas are starting in that level of service D, level of service E. Now it's not quite as simple as just seeing the level of service and saying, oh, we need a signal. there's, more analysis that goes into warranting a signal necessarily, but there are certain mitigations, intersection improvements that we can start to plan for or start to assume that, in 10 years, we're going to have to do something with this intersection. And so we are finalizing some of that information, and that'll be in the next draft. So.
Good.
I don't buy it. I'm not happy with it at all, and this is why. Todd's kind of right. It's all focused on Old Town Tokerville that we're so concerned about, but we're not trying to bring people into it. And what you're trying to do with the plan, I know you've spent a lot of time, and you spend a lot of time on it, but how do you develop something like this with incorrect data to begin with? You can't designate roads if they're not wide enough. We don't want to bring traffic in, we want to get it out. But there's nothing, this is like a master plan for the Old Town of Tokerville is all this is to me. And I think it's based off incorrect data and not putting any blame on anybody. But we spent a lot of money on this already, and you got to pretty much rework it, because if you designate certain streets for collectors or minor collectors or major collectors, that's how you're basing your whole strategy on it. And if it's not true, then we got to start all over again. Is that not incorrect?
I guess, are you talking about the existing functional classifications?
Yeah, he's talking
The
about
same
that.
identical ones as you got in there now.
Because like Westfield Road, let's just take Westfield Road or any other one, the right-of-way width changes as you go down it. Some places it's wider,
Right.
other places it's 50 foot or less. Westfield Road goes from the old town site survey width to, on the south end, it's almost a major collector. And so,
Yeah, but would you not have to base a road on its maximum capacity, which would be its narrowest point?
I don't know, I'd ask Jeff that
Well, you got
question.
Pecan, you got Old Church, you got Center, you got the one up here, you got
Can we go to that
Creekside.
Can we go to
You can't
that
even get a 50-foot road.
existing classification map?
You just don't have it.
Hey, Jeff, and the question is, and he brought up Westfield as an example, some parts of that's 60 feet wide, some parts of it's not even a minor collector. So wouldn't you have to categorize that road as at the point that it's at its narrowest? Because anything beyond that's got to be a capital project to expand it.
Yeah, so it's just after page 13.
Yeah. So, obviously, if there's certain areas that are just implausible to ever widen to the full cross section, then we can, that can be adjusted.
Well, that's what I'm going on.
But any of those areas, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm focused more on the existing because I think future is what would widen it out to. But the existing should be what its capacity is today, correct?
Yeah.
And that'd be the
Yeah.
narrowest point of the roadway, because that's its
Yeah.
maximum capacity.
The data you got right in front of you is not based off that.
That's what I'm saying.
So at an intersection,
It's incorrect.
so if you come down to an intersection, let's take Westfield Road, it's a perfect example. Once you hit Lake Lane or Grassy Lane, it widens
Right.
tremendously. So from that point on, it would be a collector road because it is definitely wide enough. Now, do we want to continue that collector road? Do we want to be able to have that same level of service at that point south? Or do we want to just say, no, we're going to keep it? And then, so then we go really, really super wide. And then we go back down to a 43-foot wide road where there's no parking on the side of the road. There's that type of stuff and
But
that
Darren-
type of thing.
Darren, you're talking current versus future, right?
Right.
So on current, you'd have to show it where it's narrower, because you'd categorize that different than where it's wider.
Yeah, well, that's-
Right now, it's all categorized as a larger road.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying is you have to show the points where, yeah, it's fine if it's a minor collector, but to get it to a minor collector, we're gonna have to do a capital improvement to widen this portion out.
Yeah.
We need it to be a minor collector, so we're gonna have to spend money to get it there. And if we're not showing that in our plan,
Yep.
we're not accounting for it, right?
But you can't get to it. You don't have the right of way to get to that.
Well, what I'm saying is, but you at least have to identify it properly in your existing conditions.
Yeah, because
That's all I'm saying.
We're choked off everywhere with these little 50-foot roads, and it's a pinch point. So you can't get traffic through, you can't have flow going to it and then go for a block and then open it right back up. It doesn't work. And that's the scenario we have here on a lot of those blue lines with the streets heading east and west.
So I think Wayne and I are saying the same thing, we just say things differently.
So
I
they're
think
two
is what it is. So it just needs to be accurate to what it is today and what we would
So
look at
to
expanding.
change those to, from a blue line to a black line, that's not gonna take much time at all.
How does it,
I'm-
how will it affect our flow that they're anticipating and want to do?
Well, see, and then you start looking at your, because we can say, in this area, from this street to this intersection is a residential collector, or local collector, or local road. From here to here, this intersection to this intersection is now this wide. Now, this is identifying the issues or the problems like we're talking about.
Right.
But at some time, as you go to the next exhibit map, you want to be able to definitely, I want to be able to, because if you look at that, we're planning for the out in the west. We're trying to put collector roads. We're trying to do that type of thing. And the plans that the Firelight has in place, we're creating collector roads to tie back into the parkway. And we show that. But yes, as far as our existing network that we have right now, we can adjust it back down.
It's gonna have to.
No, and I'm not saying take it all back down to Black Road. I'm saying
No.
I want to have the existing showing what the current roadway width is,
Yeah.
wider and narrower in the same road. So when I'm looking at the future one going, we need to be to this, I can look at that existing and say, this point and this point, we're going to have to widen out to get to what we want to get to.
Yeah, I get you.
And I'm just have to budget for that. I don't have to budget for the entire Black Road.
Yep.
Okay,
100%
Local
with you.
roads are 57 feet wide.
so,
You don't have very many local roads that are 57 feet wide. So you're busting down 2 layers and you can't accomplish it. Like I said, unless you're going to go around and take everybody's property to get your wide road. You've got to change your flows.
Well, and we don't have to designate that road to be a collector. We
You
don't.
can't designate them to be a minor collector and you can't designate them to be a local. We need to change because the locals are 57 feet wide. And all those cross streets are only 49 and a half or 50.
okay, let's do this.
We just need to identify that, and I think that'll change their strategy on how they channel this growth and traffic flow.
So we'll each go through and mark up the items that we have concerns about, that being one of them for me is I'm pretty simple-minded. I want to be able to look at a drawing and say, this is where I am, this is where I need to be, and this is what I need to do to get there. So,
I'm with you.
okay,
If there's any other comments, please email us.
yeah, we'll just highlight them and write them up and get them to you. Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks, guys.
Okay, on that, public forum. Please limit it to 3 minutes per person. Please address a microphone and state your full name and address. Please note, there may be no response from any city official during this time. For specific questions, please contact staff directly. So do we have anybody that'd like to address us during the public forum?
Anita Eaton, South Toker, oh wait, I don't know where I live. Anyway, South Ash Creek Drive. I was listening, I unfortunately was not at the planning commission meeting at the last planning commission meeting, and there's some items on tonight's agenda that are being brought forward for action. One of the things that I did notice though, as they were reviewing at the very beginning, and it was that the minutes were approved, and moments before they were approved, a commissioner actually confessed that they had not read the minutes, and they were the person who actually made a motion to approve the minutes. So neither legal nor staff caught that, but those minutes should never be approved unless you have actually read those minutes to make sure that the minutes are accurate. And I would hope that the city council also follows the guideline on that and not just trying to look good in the eye of the people, because it really looked like crap to me when an individual stated that they wanted to approve the minutes, but they did not read the full minutes. Another item that I've been noticing over a span of time with the Planning Commission is that you have some individuals on the Planning Commission who don't understand the role of the Planning Commission, yet feel by the way that they make comments or the things that they do in those meetings that they are land planners. Tokerville does not have a land planner. The Planning Commission does not take over the role of being the land planner, and any personal experience that somebody may have in land planning or in real estate should be checked at the door and not be brought in for that. I also noticed in that meeting that, and there's an item on the agenda tonight that deals with this, and I'm not sure if you got what the motion was made, but in the motion for Firelight on their cross-section approval, for road cross-section approval, it was to make bike paths part of that. Nowhere that I could find easily is a bike path required. And so a motion to require a bike path just because you have a commissioner who really wants bike paths should not be included in that unless it is an actual requirement of the city. There's so many times that the Planning Commission does not stay in their lane as to what their role is. One item that is on tonight's agenda is on the nightly rental. I think you have to go back and look at why there is a specific item in this. Originally, nightly rentals were conditional uses. Nightly rental is no longer a conditional use. It's a short-term license in order to do that. Conditional uses used to be that they were not transferable. In the current code, they are transferable. In a nightly rental, I live by a nightly rental. I'm not happy with the nightly rental because I know that the individual that has the nightly rental who rents out both layers of their home requires that the people who rent the long-term rental park on the street and allow the individuals that have the short-term rental to then use the driveway. I also have others in my neighborhood that are illegal nightly rentals, and everybody parks on the road, including their trailer. So I would hope that a thought process as to why it is illegal or unavailable to transfer over would be great.
Thank you. Anyone else for public forum?
My name is Ray Betts, 370 West Shangri-La, here in Tokerville. Several weeks ago, four of us requested to speak to the city council about some concerns that we have. I had a concern, but they had separate concerns. I spoke with the mayor previously about my concern. We didn't want to make this a legal thing. We didn't ask for attorneys to be there, but we wanted you to hear our concerns. I can't remember the activity where everyone spoke with the mayor and get together and all. I was informed that the city council had voted not to hear us. And, it kind of surprised me considering that you wanted to invite people to be able to express their concerns. And then we were told that the city council themselves voted because Bruce said he didn't want that. He wanted it handled in the courts. And so I informed the other three, and they said, well, see, nothing's really changed in the city. They had certain concerns that were different than mine, but again, and it just surprised me to hear that. And I kind of felt foolish getting up endorsing the city council. If you will recall that, I said, I feel like we ought to give you a fair shot. And I mean, you want to gain the confidence of the community, but you don't do it that way. And so, four of you have voted, in my case, voted with us and agreed with us that we were done wrong. And yet you support an action in the courts. We're trying to wrap this up so it doesn't cost the city. And Todd, Val, Jenny, Wayne, you voted that with us on that what had happened was wrong. And yet you still support that. And that is a mystery to me. So I just would like to encourage you to think about what you're doing here, defending the city, but then I guess I hear Wayne doesn't want to hear what the citizens have to say. And I've talked to Val before. I feel that our requests are valid. We have feelings. We live in this town. As was pointed out to me, they said, Ray, you know, your mistake is if you were to, they'd listen to you. But as a citizen, they won't. And I just feel that's unjust. Now, I may be, and I've been accused of being naive, okay? But I do believe, and I believe this for over 50 years, you do the right thing and, you know, you do what is right and let the consequence follow. I believe that. I've always believed that. And, what'd you say, Anita? Okay, thank you. But I actually do believe that, whether some people think that's ridiculous or not. And I think that there's justice. And fortunately, I have the means to enforce that. And so I'd like you to think about what I said tonight. I'd ask you to listen to our concerns, and I appreciate your time.
Mayor, could I make one comment?
Well, I'm going to read part of that to start with, if you're all right. Just go ahead. And Ray, you and I discussed that, and I'm going to disagree with part of what you said. We were not going to bring the council all together specifically for that group to speak because it was on several different issues. I'll explain that to you. Any of those citizens can come into any of these meetings and get up.
So we don't feel comfortable doing that.
And express their opinion during the public forum. When there is a legal case going on and our attorney gives us advice not to do something, then we are bound to follow the legal
You need to control
attorney.
your attorneys. That's what you guys don't have the experience. I've dealt with attorneys for 50 years. I tell attorneys what to do and what not to do.
Good.
They represent me. That we didn't vote for an attorney, we
Right.
voted for you.
I heard you out. I'm just trying to explain to you and for the public to
The attorney
understand.
does not want
Right.
to live up to they want to win a case.
Right.
They're trying to mitigate something.
I
That's up to you.
listen to you.
Okay.
I'm explaining to you why we did what we did. And every one of them are welcome to come in here and state their case.
Well, they won't.
During
They won't.
Well,
Just sorry.
that is a choice they make if they do not want to bring it to the council.
And it's a statement that you've shown
Okay.
the community. And I'm sorry to do that.
Okay.
And by the way, the appellate court has not issued a ruling on this yet. They have not issued a ruling, if you look it up. And I would have been notified, and they have not issued a
Councilman
ruling.
Kilmer?
I'm going to make, so your wife had emailed us the other day with some concerns, and I gave her my cell phone number, and you can give my cell phone number to whoever wants to talk to me. They have my email address. We are wide open in that way.
We've talked to you in the past.
But yeah, that's fine. I'm just saying like,
Okay, and I
but to
appreciate
say,
that.
but to say we won't interact with people.
No, these three people wanted to come with me. Originally, I was gonna come by myself. These three people wanted to come, and they have.
That's fine.
issues. They felt comfortable doing that.
We did have to follow some advice from legal, and
You don't have to follow advice.
we made a decision to follow
You made a
the,
decision.
yes.
Okay.
But I'm gonna say again, my email and my phone is always on, so
you're
they
saying
can contact me.
We can individually contact you, but we can't do it as a group. Is
It's,
that what you're saying?
I'm
That doesn't
saying,
make sense.
I'm saying we cannot, outside of a public meeting, have three council members together, meet with you without declaring as a public meeting.
Well, then declare it's public.
We chose, following legal counsel's advice, which we chose to follow, we did not do that.
Well, then give us an alternative where we can meet with you.
I just did.
We have to do it individually.
Okay, so Ray, I've talked to Kathy multiple times on the phone. I've answered her emails. I get emails from our residents and I make sure I absolutely every single one of them I answer. So the most recent one was from one of our residents that was concerned with what was going on in Solar, and I talked to him on the phone probably for about a half an hour about it. So I am, as Joey was saying, I am more than happy as an individual councilman to talk to you anytime, to talk to Kathy anytime, to talk to your three residents that don't want to come here now because they're not being brought by you. They can reach out to me
Okay.
on an email, and I'll give them my contact information and we can talk about what their concerns are. As I've done before, when other people reach out to me, if it's something that needs to come before the city, whether our staff or the council or the mayor, then I bring it to them.
Okay.
If I can rectify their concerns on the phone with them, then great, we've solved the issue or a problem. We haven't had to bring the whole council and mayor involved in it.
And that is,
Go ahead.
that is where we have had that discussion, is you wanted them to come before the full council. And that falls under very different requirements than speaking to each one of us individually.
So do you?
Or two of us at the same
so let me-
time.
So I can get this straight. So you don't have a problem with us contacting, I could call Jenny up and say, Jenny, we want to meet with you. Can we do that, Jenny?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that individually.
Two of us at the same time.
We can't we spoke, when we act as a body, we have to act together.
Okay,
And
well, I wish
that has
would
to have a
been told
public
to me
meeting.
at the time. Okay, it wasn't told to me at the time, and maybe that's my fault. But I was surprised. But if you're saying that we can do that, and Joey, you're saying 2 at a time, huh?
Is a maximum.
Yes.
Anything beyond 2 is a quorum
Okay.
and is required to be publicly notified.
I'm leaving town, but when I get back, we will make arrangements to do 2 at a time if that will.
And that's, if the council members are willing to do that, that's fine.
Okay,
Because it doesn't fall under the state restrictions,
right.
right? And that's what I tried telling you. If you want to talk to all of them, that's a quorum. We have to announce it. We have to put out public notice. It all has to go out. If 1 or 2 is fine, more than 2 can't
Okay,
happen.
now I understand.
Okay.
We'll follow through with that. I don't have a problem with that.
And we have made this meeting more public than it has been since
Oh,
I've
no,
lived
I
here. So,
recognize that, and I've even said that.
okay.
And I commend you on that. I think it's great that you've done that. It just surprised us, and it surprised them. But now I know the rules.
Okay.
If that's how it works, and we'll follow through with those rules.
Okay.
But again, we want to feel that we're represented. And we expect you, let me tell you this, and this is important, I want everybody to hear this. We expect you to look out for us.
Well, I think everybody up here does.
That's why we're here.
We expect you to look out for us. We live here.
Okay.
You're to help us live a better life.
Okay.
And we want you to hear us. So we know what the rule is now, we'll follow that rule.
Okay. Do we have anybody else for the public forum?
No, hey, Ray,
No?
so I don't understand what you mentioned my name 5 times. I have called your wife, responded to her.
I'm talking about that case. 4 of you voted against what we're holding this lawsuit for. And yet.
When did they vote? Did they make a public vote? What vote are you talking about? Because if it was 4 against, then you didn't pass anything. If I'm just saying I've made a vote for something and.
Do you want to get into that? I can do that.
Well, I mean, I think the reality is I think you're misleading some people and people that are watching on YouTube, because I don't think an official vote ever happened from 4 to 1. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Between planning commission and city council, everybody on there has voted against what this lawsuit was about.
Okay.
Between planning commission and city council.
All right. You wanted to come up on public comment?
I actually wanted to finish with Ray.
All right, go ahead.
So
This is going to end quick.
when you call me, or if you do, I won't elaborate except what happened in the exact meeting. So, because I'm not going to get pinned in anything. So I respond to everybody, but it's on a limited basis on just exactly what happened. Like, it's in your hands or it's in Laura's hands. I don't want to elaborate, but I'll be glad to talk with anybody who wants to call me, but it's just going to be the factual.
Well, then that's fine. I don't expect anything other than that.
Because, when you start talking one-on-one, then other people believe they heard what you heard and you heard what you heard. So I don't do a one-on-one very much.
People can meet at once, so we can keep because I know that times Joey has felt like I've embellished something. And unfortunately, I look at YouTube videos and I could pretty much back up what was said.
Okay.
And so, but I'm glad to know that I can meet with 2 people, or they can meet with 2 people at a time. And does that mean 1 person, or could all 4 of us meet with 2 people?
Do you want to have a group and 2 come? That's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Can we move on to somebody else
It's
that
up
has
to
public?
you. It's your.
Yeah, let's move on. Did you raise your hand for public forum?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's up to it.
Can I make a comment real quick?
Can we let him do his first?
No, because it's right there. Let me just mention.
Of course.
I understand the wanting to have open communication and this whole, I don't understand everything with Ray, but I do understand his commitment. What he's asking for is to meet with, but they cannot, and I'm just gonna say, I'm just gonna go from this left to right, okay? Well, let's just say, take 2 individuals and they both say, oh yeah, I think that's great. But that's not a vote.
No.
And don't hold that against them, because when they get in a quorum, that's when your vote is
But I didn't
taken.
say I was gonna do that, Anita.
I'm just stating that. I'm just stating that. Because what you were asking for, to meet with them, that is a public meeting.
Okay.
That has to be a public
And they
meeting.
just explained.
That has to be a public meeting. And that has been on the record for a very, very long time.
I just
Okay.
learned that. Thank you.
So you're homework.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. Now jump up there before anybody else gets up.
I'm gonna change the
What would I do
subject.
with that?
All right, all right.
Drive home.
My
Okay,
friend
everybody.
says, I live at 1540 South Ash Creek Drive, Tocqueville Heights. I learned a lot tonight about this master transportation plan. I didn't know that's what this was gonna be about tonight, but I agree with Todd, and I believe there was a couple other people that might have mentioned this. I don't know when the planning committee, that gentleman that was on the
The
video
engineering firm?
conference. I don't know when he gathered that information, but he said that a couple of things I want to comment on was, he said they did like a 24-hour study at these intersections. But it depends on what day you do it, because the data could be really different on a Sunday than it would be on a day during the week. Because you got a lot of people that are going to maybe, Zion Park or whatever. And then also too, during the week, you've got all those construction trucks and everything else that happens through Monday through Friday. Also, I think it would be prudent to find out when that study was done. Because it was done like 6 months ago. I live in Tocqueville Heights, so as soon as I come down off that hill, I'm in waiting for that traffic both ways before I can get out, and it's just getting worse and worse. It seems like every week it's getting a little bit longer and longer. I sit at the bottom of that hill. And depending on when that survey was done, I noticed that on the map he showed, that intersection and then the one right north of that, before you get to the Tocqueville bypass and Tocqueville Road,
Yeah.
those two intersections, which mine's included, they're already in the C category. And if this survey was done 6 months ago, 8 months ago, it might already be past that. You could be now into the D category, or, and that's right before you get into the E and F, which is the red zone. So we could already be past the C zone on that. So I think it would just be prudent that the information that he presented tonight, how old is it and how accurate is it? Because it was done too long ago, it's not gonna be accurate. And so that's all I want to say on that, but it was an interesting,
Appreciate your input.
yes.
I think they should probably do the traffic study on Sunday near the church.
Then we're always in E, so.
Well, it sounded like most of the study was done
So Mayor,
on the old road and not the bypass.
can I want to just one real quick clarification. If you look at those, it's done over time. It's an average. Some were done on October 28th, some in November. So yes, it was done shortly after the parkway opened up. But, and that's what we talked about, is updating those counts. Because it just takes them, you'll see them on the stop signs, those counters, and so they can update it.
Okay. Anybody else for the forum? Okay, we'll move on to business item G1, discussion of possible action on ordinance 2026XX, an ordinance approving a material modification to the Firelight MPDO plan and development agreement regarding roadway cross sections through addendum number 2 and authorizing the mayor to execute the addendum. Who's addressing this one?
So we have the developer here, or the engineer for the developer. He's probably explain what's going on here. And then staff can go forward with that. I'd rather have the developer get up, or his engineer representatives, for a minute.
You're up.
All right. Good evening, council. Thanks for hearing us out on this. So my name is Austin Chappell. I'm with American Consulting Engineering. We are the civil engineering firm representing the Firelight development. Firelight representation could not be here tonight, so I'm filling in for Stephen. You're probably familiar with him. This item is fairly straightforward. It's just a proposed modification to the NPDL plan agreement to better define the cross sections for the typical streets through the Firelight subdivision, the Firelight community, just to better define the limits of the city-owned right-of-way versus the HOA or community-owned areas that will be more of a landscape feature that the developer would like to have a little more control of the maintenance and presentation of those areas. So we've separated those from the city right-of-way. So fairly basic. I don't know if there needs more description than that, but.
So if you look in your agenda item sheet, it's kind of a little bit lengthy. I sat down and went through every one of these proposed right-of-way changes, or not changes, but modifications to our standards and specification. The big thing that I was looking at is we don't really, I tell you, I don't really care. And I know that the city council in the past, why our standards and specs don't show a planter strip is most of the time those become, they can become weed strips basically. Essentially though, what I'm saying here though is we don't include paths or a trail on any of our standard road cross sections. With Firelight's active transportation, if we want to call it that, component of their overall MPDO, they're wanting to put trails on collectors, and in the residential, they've actually got a trail on one side there. So what it basically does for us is that we keep the same asphalt width as our existing road cross sections and curb and gutter, and then it gives them primarily the maintenance and to take care of the sidewalk, whether it's a 6-foot sidewalk, those planter strips, and it works well, HOA, because those HOAs hire landscapers and they take care of those landscaping as well as the planter strips. A nice thing too is that trail, I would just want to pull out, it's a 10-foot trail. It's not a 6-foot wide sidewalk. And as you see that, so on most of the on each one of the sheets, it gives you our standard cross section at the top, and then it shows you their modifications. And so essentially, it looks like we're getting a smaller, but we are actually getting bigger but they are taking care of that of those utilities, or not those utilities, but those trails and sidewalks and things on most of those. There is one cross section. Austin, remind me which one. I think it's the 50-foot where Tokerville City actually has a 6-foot sidewalk in our right-of-way that we would take care of. And that's based on the local traffic, as we were kind of talking about earlier in the transportation master plan. We talk about our collectors and our local roads.
Well, that's what I was going to ask when I went through this, because it looked like, even though we're changing it to like the 60-foot to a 48-foot, we're not losing any pavement.
We're actually getting more landscaping, and we're not losing any more pavement. The pavement stays the same.
I didn't see that where we were losing travel way on any of them.
Correct. That's correct. And the ability to be able to, as our standard 50-foot wide cross section, it's still the same cross section as far as the asphalt and curb and gutter width. It doesn't change at all on any of them. And then they just carried over for the 43-foot one that we actually have a standard. That's a 43-foot wide road. They've actually proposed to just keep that as they have in their original cross sections for the private road. As it's the same thing as what you're seeing. And the reason they're keeping that is it's the same thing that you're seeing in the existing 55 plus community out there that they're building right now. So one side doesn't have sidewalk, the other side does have sidewalk on it. That's the change. In our standard and spec, we have sidewalk on both sides. So on a 43, but that's a public road. They're making those.
These are all private roads.
They are private roads, correct.
I appreciate how thorough you made the agenda item sheet for us.
Yeah.
I hope that helped. It took me about 4 hours
Yeah.
because I wanted to see what the original had in the first MPDO, because they had their cross sections in there. Those were, they'll tell you the truth, those were a little, they had already been adopted when I started working here, and I basically, I was like, I'm not exact. It was hard to implement. These are so much more because they mimic our existing standards.
And where we were talking earlier, with our study and plan, these are the standards that are going to be the gold standard, that anything that's,
I would
do we
like
have to
to.
bring everything into
Well,
concordance with
so,
what these are based on?
no, this is specifically to firelight only. We still have our standards and specs that we've had for many, many years. Those standard cross sections. So if there's a traditional subdivision that comes in, they would just use our standard
Yeah.
drawings. So,
Well, I just meant, are the ones that we have used here for this, they're based on our standards that are,
Some of them are small.
yes, yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it's.
In the
some of their
private
regional
section.
Development agreement, they asked for special requirements for their private roads.
Okay.
So that was kind of negotiated at that time. And the good thing is they're not going any smaller on that pavement. So they're
Yeah.
expecting
And-
better.
So my understanding is these are the same as far as what the city has to pay for and maintain. It's
Actually-
either the same, it's like the
Or
same
less.
for the roadway. It's the same width, it's the same amount of parking space and lanes and things.
Yeah.
But they are willing to maintain a fancier side if
Yes,
they want to put that. on.
correct.
And the cost of that will be on the HOA.
Yeah, exactly. And then, it's in their CCNRs. They have a master CCNRs, I believe. Then also on each final plat, because there was a concern that the attorneys had, that they brought up about, hey, we need to make sure that the general public can use these trails and things like that. So there's going to be a note on every one of the final plats and in the CCNRs that these are open to the general public. You don't need to even live in Tokerville to be able to use these trails if you wanted to. So,
I appreciate that.
so that even though they're maintaining all of that, it's still public access.
Okay.
One thing I would add is the only cross-section in the MPDO originally that had a trail had a 12-foot trail.
Oh, thank you.
That's the cross-section of Firelight Drive. So now proposing this, they will likely use a 10-foot trail everywhere from this point forward, except on Firelight Drive. They'll maintain that from intersection to intersection.
Because they've already
Just
started.
be aware of that.
They've already started that in that existing.
Yeah, that's correct. That existing 12-foot section will continue to the intersection, so there's not a strange taper or transition in the trail, so that it looks complete. And then after that, future trails will all be 10 feet.
And the planning commission's recommendation was to keep the optional bike lane as it exists on our cross sections now. So only on the roads it applies to. I think it's on the
It was on the
80 foot and the 66.
66.
So their recommendation just was to keep that as an option so that it was open if they wanted to add it. There's a small note on our standards and specifications that says optional 3.5 foot bike lane. That's all.
That was found where?
It's on our standards and specs now. I think you had the standard drawings in the packet, so it's on the larger roads only.
Yeah, and it's just our standard drawings.
So it's not in their MPDO, it's just in our standard.
And that's what we were talking about, was
All right.
the bike lane is in the asphalt, not somewhere else.
Right.
Which has nothing to do with what we're doing right now.
Exactly,
All right.
exactly.
But they're modifying our standard drawings, and it was just their recommendation that that not be modified, that it be left as an option.
Okay. All right, any further questions?
Ready for a motion?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mayor, I make a motion to approve ordinance 2026.XX approving the material modification to Firelight MPDO plan and development agreement regarding the roadway cross sections, addendum number 2, and authorizing the mayor to execute the addendum.
We have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
All those in favor?
What he said?
What? Do you have a question, Wayne?
Well, that little thing in little white writing, I don't see it anywhere. The only thing the planning commission asked for,
It's down on the bottom.
at the very bottom of the agenda item
is it in that one?
Yeah, but it's actually not relevant to what's in here. It's just
could be, if you wanted it to.
to leave it as an option.
Our standard cross section, so if you want an optional bike lane, you can put a note in there.
And the asphalt already accommodates it,
Yeah,
right?
that's,
Yeah.
if they're gonna put a trail in, they can use it for a bike or not, so that's why I didn't make it with the motion.
All right. Do you want to do a different motion, Wayne?
No.
Well, we have a motion and a second on the floor, so.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You abstain? What?
No, I said aye.
Okay, just checking.
We got a bike path.
Oh, it's unanimous.
All right,
Thanks, guys.
thank you.
Thank you.
Good motion.
All right. Item G2, discussion of possible action on the resolution 2026XX, resolution designating specific locations and times for discharge of fireworks within the city limits for public safety purposes. And I appreciate Councilman Sands pointing this out. So, anybody want to cover it or have any questions on it?
The question came up as to whether or not a city, and I appreciate Councilman Sands for bringing this to my attention, as to whether or not a city can restrict firework usage on, say, a red flag day. And it appears in state statute that cities are prohibited from doing anything except excluding geographical areas due to historic hazardous conditions. So there are other entities with this kind of authority, just municipalities are not given that, for clarification. So we can essentially say where they're allowed, but beyond that, that's the limit of our authority.
These dates and times come directly from state code as well. So
We
we've
do
just
this every year.
designated in the past,
thing in it,
the
yeah.
parks.
Same thing every year. pretty
Yep,
much.
exactly.
Can we designate that they need to have like a safety bucket filled with water to place the spent fireworks in? So that they're not throwing them in the city trash where they're still possibly smoldering or what have you?
I mean, I think it could be added as advisement. I think it would be difficult if we, if it came to enforcement, I think it may be difficult.
I saw there was a city, well, no, I take that back. There was a city in northern Utah that was giving the buckets free. So that wasn't part of their, yeah.
Well,
No.
I guess the question is, the city could take it upon themselves to put buckets out there.
Yeah, we talked about that in previous years. That was some of the things that we were having Public Works do, and I don't know whether it actually occurred or not. So remember that kind of, Joey, a little bit?
Yeah, I think if we're concerned, we can't require it, we can recommend it.
Yeah.
But I think if we're that concerned about it, we might as well take it
Yeah.
upon ourselves to put something out there.
Yeah, and then the only other thing that we can do is what Ben mentioned, is that we can restrict the location. So if we wanted to just set it to one park instead of two, that's another option that we can do. If one park might be more advantageous to the other park in terms of whatever, potential brush, et cetera. That would be another option if anybody's.
Have we had an issue with either park?
We did have a small brush fire at Center Street Park last year that burned, I don't know, maybe half acre or so.
Did you light the fireworks?
We also had people setting off the illegal fireworks in that vicinity, and I don't know that there was any enforcement on that. Because I did see aerial up high fireworks that were not within the purview of this code. So I think if I would rather have more places for people to set their fireworks off. And if we're going to enforce something, I'd rather just have the rules that we have. Because there are safety considerations behind those of.
Sure. And then the enforcement is left to the Washington County Sheriff, the fire department.
The fire.
The Hurricane Valley Fire will come out for the fire part.
Yeah.
The actual enforcement
But
is
it's
the
the sheriff that's
sheriff,
supposed
is
to
the
be
enforcement.
Yeah. We could put up a poster that says, call this number if you see aerial fireworks, but.
All right, just for me, since I wasn't here last year, is this essentially the same thing we did last year?
It's almost identical.
Every year.
Dates are a tiny bit different for
They update it for the date.
Yeah, it
I
essentially
don't
just
have
comes
a
down to
problem
the
with
two
that.
parks and the dates that they're allowed and no aerials. It's pretty simple.
I sounded like Jenny was almost to make a motion.
I'm ready to move unless anyone else has more
You're up
discussion.
there.
I move to approve resolution 2026.XX designating locations and times for the discharge of fireworks within city limits.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We'll take Val.
Good.
All right, have a motion to second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 3, business discussion of possible action on ordinance 2026XX, an ordinance amending Title 10, Chapter 17, Section 4 of the Tokerville City Code regarding the transfer of nightly rental licenses upon change of ownership of a dwelling. I remember the discussion, we had this in the other meeting. Do we have any further clarifications or questions on it?
Is it, when you transfer it, the new owner has to come in and get a license?
We have to
They have to reapply, but they
Yes.
have the right to reapply.
For a business license.
Is that in there
They'll keep
somewhere?
the same nightly
Yes,
rental.
it
permit.
is. Yeah.
I thought it was.
It stays on, but they have to get a new business license, and if they don't come in, then it goes away.
It's H.
New contacts and
Right.
everything else.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was concerned about it and I started writing up how it needed to be fixed, but then I saw down in H that
Yeah.
they had made a new H
Yeah,
that
exactly.
addressed this.
Mhm.
Do we have anybody in the city that has a nightly rental that's like in a trust or anything?
The what?
That's all I know. Yeah. So that trust it would just go to the beneficiary of the trust and it would never change hands? Or does the beneficiary still have to come in and change?
It depends who's the record owner and then the documents for the trust,
Gotcha.
who has
So
the power on that.
how the trust is set up would identify how the,
Any further discussion?
no, I think you guys did a really good job of making it a lot easier than I was thinking about it in my head when we had the discussion.
It's pretty,
I appreciate that.
it's fairly tight, so that's good.
Yeah.
Well, it's two.
We have a motion.
I move to approve ordinance 2026.XX, amending Title 10, Chapter 17, Section 4 of the Tocqueville City Code regarding the transfer of nightly rental licenses upon change of ownership of a dwelling.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Was that you, Joey? You seconded it?
Item 4, discussion of possible action on ordinance 2026XX, and ordinance amending Title 10, Chapter 19D, Section 12 of the Tocqueville City Code related to fencing regulations and permit requirements. I'm going to take part of this one. I actually asked the staff to look at this with the planning commission. We had a young lady that wanted to put a fence up, but we were requiring her to have engineering, site survey, and a bunch done to put a simple fence up. And I understand the reason staff did that was for retaining walls and other items. I think the simple fencing got caught up in it. So I think they've clarified that with the new ordinance, the amended ordinance.
Yeah.
While I was in there, I did a little bit more cleanup. But the option instead of a building permit that we put in there was an administrative review, and I've limited my scope of review to design setbacks and site triangles. So without having a survey of the property, I'm not reviewing whether that fence is, if it's on the property line or not. We're just making sure that it complies with the requirements that actually already existed in code. We did not change any of the height restrictions or anything. That's all still the same. I just added a few other clarifications.
And I appreciate what staff did to clean this one
Like
up.
a cinder block wall, simple fence.
Who think?
So that was the recommendation Planning Commission had. Commissioner Welker, who's in commercial construction, said typically he sees building permits required for like block walls because a lot of times they do have to be engineered or there's footings and things of that nature. So their recommendation was to pull that out, CMU or block walls, and just put another section that said a permit is required for those. So that was their recommendation. Right now, it's lumped into all of this so that you would not need a permit for that.
So how do you handle the block walls in this?
That's what she said.
If they're retaining, they're like 10 feet high,
So retaining walls are separate. This does not include retaining walls.
so they'll come in and get their.
That would be different.
Currently, a simple block wall is not required to get a permit either.
Yeah, simple one.
Right.
Up to 6 feet. After that, you have to.
And yep, I think that was one of the recommendations.
Yeah.
We were gonna put over, I think they said over 4 feet, but generally you see it over 6 feet. You need
Right.
it.
Yeah.
But Darren, maybe you could speak to this better.
Over 4 feet?
Sometimes less than 6 feet a block wall, depends on what the ground is like or.
Yeah, it
There
really
would be
does.
requirements.
If you put a CMU wall on top of a retaining wall, that's why it gives that ability to make sure that it's on the property line. And I believe that's what Commissioner Welker's comments were, was basically any block wall will straddle a property line with a footing, and depending on the height of it, which we don't allow greater than 6 feet. But you still have a 18-inch footing that straddles the property lines, or it's all on one person's property line.
Yeah. Has to be an agreement with both parties.
So yeah, that, they were stating that should still stay as a building permit for that.
So you're saying that
think
all the
that's a
walls
good
that are in
recommendation.
firelight would require a building permit if the planning commission, because every one of them walls in the backs and the sides are over 4 feet.
Yes.
And there's gonna be
And they're on the construction drawings, so I think maybe we could.
Well, they
write
are on the
something in there.
construction drawings.
Well, they're under the
Detail.
currently they would have to, under the current code.
Well, we approve those as a part of the engineer
Right.
construction drawings, so we have not been requiring it in that case. But we do approve them
Yeah,
under the
so
same
we-
process.
On the
As a part of-
construction drawings, we do ask them to show the location of those CMU walls as well as retaining walls. And, you know, all the many different things that applies to that, but,
Well, does that conflict with
There
what we're
is some-
putting in the ordinance right now?
you probably should if you're gonna,
That's
if
why I
you're
said
going
that.
to. Yes.
I don't want to see everybody come in. If we can encompass it and do it on the same approval as a site plan or something in that nature, then that's great. But I don't want people to have to come in and do a double submission
Yeah,
for a
because
simple
that's
wall,
more, you know,
5
like I
feet
say,
tall.
that's more a part of the new construction type of a scenario. So when they come in for once just say Firelight comes in, they show their property lines and walls at that point in time on their site plan.
So I guess the question is,
So-
do we need to add a line in this saying, unless it is otherwise approved in a construction drawing?
Isn't that what,
I didn't think.
isn't that
about
what 1019D12B says? Unless I'm not reading it right, which is quite possible. Doesn't it say standards of this section apply to all fencing within the city, including block or masonry walls, unless regulated by an approved developer agreement or other adopted design standard?
Well, that wouldn't fall.
That doesn't-
No,
that-
because it's not part of their development agreement.
It's not, okay.
My question is
Okay.
that every wall that's over 4 feet need engineering?
Every
Well,
retaining
that's a
wall.
retaining wall. That's
Retaining
not a
only,
CMU
so
wall.
Just a CMU, anything over 4 foot, because that's the way I kind of look at that motion that they said is that,
Yeah.
So they're,
so just saying it's need a permit only, not engineering and.
So, yeah, the difference between a retaining wall and a CMU wall is basically, I hope everybody kind of understand what that is.
Yeah, I do. I'm just saying like, if somebody comes in and they want to build a wall that's over 4 foot, they have to get a permit.
A block
building
wall.
permit
That was
for
their
a block wall.
recommendation, yes.
so Joey, the development agreements don't list out the walls?
No.
Okay.
They don't list out a permit for a wall.
Specifically.
Well, yeah,
That's
but
what I
it-
don't want to get. all
I mean,
convoluted.
but on that B, it says if it's approved development agreement, then they don't have to do it. That's the way I'm reading it, might not. read
Where are
it.
you?
Well, if it's approved.
1019D12.
If it's approved
12B.
inside of a development agreement, the development agreement doesn't talk about block walls in any nature. Maybe a little bit in standard, but
Okay, so I guess I'm trying
I
to
think
get to
you're-
what would
I think
have to
you're
be added to this to get it to, so that we comply with the way we actually do it.
Sorry, say that one more time.
What,
Todd was talking.
what language would we have to add to where those two items would not conflict? Where the process that we're going through right now, when you're doing the review of the drawings,
should be 6 feet.
CMU wall.
If you're building a block wall as a result of a building permit for a home,
right?
I can't see that you need a separate block wall permit for that
That's
block
right.
wall.
Exactly. That's what I don't want to have.
But that's not stated, that's not
That we
separated.
could probably state something
Well,
like that.
we haven't added it yet. So if we add that you need a building permit for block walls, then yeah, we could add that
This
in
is for
there.
discussion
Unless covered by another permit.
That was just a recommendation of the planning commission.
Okay.
So-
It's not in here. I also gave myself the ability to ask for additional information if needed. So I could bring block walls to John and say, do you need to see any engineering on or footings drawings for this? And then I could require them at that time. It leaves that option open.
So as this sits right now, if it comes in, you can require more information.
I can require whatever I think I need to
Right.
approve it, yeah.
But a simple fence, you can just tell them, yeah, you're fine.
I could.
Well, and I'm still concentrated on just the motion that the planning commission made. So they're saying anything over 4 foot would require a separate building permit for block walls, masonry walls, right? I want to make sure, like Darren said, is if somebody comes in here and they submit a building permit for a house and they have the block walls on there, that's part of it. So in the motion, I would say something, to the nature that, if it's submitted on the original plans for the house, they do not need a separate building permit for the block walls.
So I guess the question is, do we adopt the motion? Or is it the ordinance covered enough where she can require more that we don't need to have that?
And to clarify, Joey, they're saying separate permit. Separate might not have been the right word, but that was their motion. They're just saying require a permit.
A permit.
And so I could certainly clarify that it's
Okay.
not 2 permits if there's a house.
Okay.
But you don't have to require a permit. As it's written now, it does not require a permit.
So I guess my real question is staff comfortable with the verbiage that's in there now?
Well, and also, Commissioner, was it Welkner? I can't.
Yeah.
So he's talking specifically about residential or commercial projects.
No, he was talking about any
Any
masonry or block CMU wall.
Because I see more of an issue on commercial projects than residential, as far as that, structural, commercial.
Well, and as long as the staff has the option, if there's some additional engineering required, they can require it.
Yeah.
When they see what they're applying for. That's what I'm trying to make sure that the people that want to put in a simple fence don't have to do more than they have to, and the people that are putting in something that's complicated can be required to do additional work. I guess that's where if this meets that boundary. And I'm glad the lady is putting her fence up finally. So
She is?
don't tell me, no, she's not.
Okay.
She did have her twins though, just to let you know.
So it does say that I can require fence plans, drawings, or other information necessary to verify compliance with these standards. So we could just add in there compliance with these standards, and I can maybe get with John on the language, or engineering as required for certain types of walls.
Well, then do we need to wait on, if it's not ready for it, then if we need to modify it, then I don't want to vote on it.
I have a couple of concerns also I wanted to discuss.
Okay.
There's a couple spots in line E7 and 8 where it uses the word may. And a fence between public streets and rear and side yards of single-family, multifamily, or agricultural developments may be required. And fences and walls along public streets may be required to incorporate visual breaks, changes in alignment, landscaping, or other design elements during administrative review to reduce visual mass and avoid long, uninterrupted surfaces. I feel like using the word may is kind of unclear, and I would rather have it be something that's pretty clear and specific and not just give somebody the free pass to say, oh, I don't like the length of that wall. I want it to have a visual. I want you to change the way it looks because I would like it that way.
So the way the code was written before, it said fences over 40 feet required visual breaks or steeping. Most lots are wider than 40 feet. And so a lot of that's based on topography, right? If it's going uphill, you'll see those tiered fences. So it is subjective, I think, a little bit. It's more in the design, and most of that would come in subdivision design, like we said in the construction plans. We could put 100 feet or something that makes a little bit more sense than 40 feet, because we've had trouble with fences longer than 40 feet before.
Well, isn't the maybe required? You guys might require something else after they come in and show you the design.
Yeah.
Yeah, or not.
Or the curve of the road, or, yeah.
I mean, if
I
you're
guess
gonna
that
build,
does leave room for
Yeah.
special situations. I just want to make sure it's plenty clear.
Well, if the fence is under 4 feet, then it can go as long as it wants, because no one's going to review it.
Well, no, I have to review all fences,
All fences.
even if they're under 4 feet. That's how it's written. That's how it was written before, too.
Yep. So what's the
But
feeling?
Jenny
Is it
sent
re-
me,
Is it
sorry,
ready, or does it need to go?
I think it's ready. If you want to, we can kind of narrow down the language if we want to add building permit requirements. I think we can do that now, unless, as is, I think it's fine for me to ask for additional information as needed.
I think it is too. I think it's covered with the as needed or
Additional.
as requested.
Okay.
Don't look at me. I can't make motions.
I thought that was your motion.
Oh, that was close enough.
I didn't see the sport courts fencing. I want to make sure that we
What?
saw that. The sport court fencing.
You want the May out of there?
It says that on interior side and rear property line, chain link or mesh fencing may be permitted up to 12 feet in height. We have some already in town, and this was in St. George's code. So if you put up a pickleball court, as long as it's on the side or the rear, you could put in a higher fence.
As long as what?
As long as it's on the side property line or the rear property line, you could put up to 12 feet of chain link or mesh fencing for your sport court,
Okay,
tennis court, pickleball court, something like
as
that.
long as you can see through it.
You have to be able to see through it, yes.
Okay.
And it couldn't be a 12-foot block wall. It has to be chain link.
Okay.
And we have a few already in town that I've seen over here. There's some in out that direction.
For some of us, 12 feet's not high enough. You just can't keep the ball in the court anyway.
That's what Angela thought too. She thought hers was 20, and then she went home and measured it and texted me and said it's 12.
Yeah, okay. All right, no, I think that's all right, I read that.
make it higher if you would like.
No, I'm just saying for me, it should be higher, but, yeah.
So are you comfortable with it as is, Joey? Without the
Yeah, I think it's
extra
covered enough
requirement?
to not handcuff people as much.
Yeah.
Cutting them
Okay.
if they need them. She's reviewing every single fence and she sees an issue and
Yeah.
somebody's still looking at it.
For me, it unburdened enough for the citizens not to take the
Yeah.
overburden off the citizens.
Exactly.
Agreed.
I'll make a
Have
motion
a
if you're ready.
conversation. I probably will put together some sort of a packet with very simple, like, you can do 4 feet up to 25 feet in your front yard and this and that. And they could bring in a drawing of, even hand drawn if they want, what they're gonna do. You could just,
All right,
That sounds good.
We're ready. May I make a motion to approve ordinance 2026.XX amending the Title 10, Chapter 19D, Section 12 of the Tocqueville City Code of fencing regulations and permit requirements.
I second.
have a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Discussion of possible action ordinance 2026XX, an ordinance amending Title 10, Chapter 16A of the Tocqueville City Code to establish standards for trails in hillside areas. And part of this is me bringing this up because we'd like to put a trail around Toker Reservoir, Chief Toker Reservoir, which had been planned and nobody looked at it. That would violate the hillside ordinance, even though it's been planned for 20 years.
so we just put in some standards, took some inspiration from Springdale's code and changed what maybe wasn't as applicable to us or future plans for trails. I made sure to call out here that development not permitted except for trails. And then most of it is related to just continuing with the intent of the hillside ordinance to minimize scarring, to make sure that it's revegetated, and to give us the ability to review those plans ahead of time. It will be with a hillside development permit, so you will see it. I think we did a 6 feet width in areas exceeding 30%. So that could be more if you want, could be more in areas that are not 30% unless we call that out. But that's what Springdale had.
Let me ask this, if the maintenance crew has to get around it, how wide is it going to be? Is 6 wide enough?
It's gonna be hard, it will be a little difficult, but, they can do it by hand, they can maintain things by hand.
Well, depending upon how long a trail it is, but
It's on a 6-foot sidewalk, it's hard to even drive a mini X down that, or a skid steer. If they needed to get in there with to do some sort of a drainage issue or something that happened.
I think it's important to remember that the 30% trails are probably going to look very different than the,
I'm aware,
11%
but
trails.
if we're going to have to maintain it, is what I'm trying to get at is,
we may or may not. So we asked them to just be at least dedicated to public access.
Right.
But we could make maintenance required for the property owner, whoever puts it in. I guess the reservoir one would be ours, but, or the state.
That's one. I'm kind of figuring there's gonna be areas that we're gonna end up having to maintain it, and I just wanna make sure that if it's a fairly long trail that we have to maintain, that they can get a piece of, an ATV or side-by-side in there for whatever they need to do, to empty trash cans or put park benches or whatever they need to do, but.
And that's specifically what I was thinking about is your Tokerville Reservoir.
Right.
If you can't have more than a 6-foot wide trail around that.
That's gonna be tough for those guys because you're gonna have to put trash cans around there and
Is
they're
that
gonna have to be
30%?
able to get around
It
it.
is.
They want to cut that?
Some of it.
So how much will they have to retain if they cut a 12-foot trail in there?
I don't know. It didn't.
Well, I don't think we need
Depends on
to
the
we don't need to go
spine.
12 feet, but
Yeah,
I think 6 feet's a hair.
It depends, and I think you put verbiage, I think we saw in here to talk about reclamation, or lessening the scar, lessening the spoils, I should say.
I think Springdale actually was 4 feet, and so we widened it to 6. We could
Yeah.
go
I
a
was
little
just
bit more.
wondering, 8 feet wouldn't be a problem, 6 foot, I think would be pretty tough.
Yeah, that broad question I have when I was looking at this and talking with Ben a little bit is that if D5 is trails shall not exceed 6 feet in width, but do we have a minimum that they have to be? Because that's essentially what you're talking about.
Right.
So, I mean, the code doesn't call out a minimum for a trail. Do we have a minimum for a trail?
No.
Should we have a minimum for a trail? Because that's what we're discussing.
Well, we're discussing, yeah.
I don't think we should, because we, like even the little rabbit trail's really tiny, and I don't.
And surface, we did talk about surface, did we
We
not?
did not limit it to natural surface, so it can be paved, natural surface.
Well, somebody just
Whatever
wants
they
to put a
do.
natural single walking trail through, I don't want to tell them that to
Right.
do it 3 foot wide.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. A lot of trails I walk on are, it's one
Right.
person behind
But
another.
are those designated city trails? And are we, and we're discussing building as part of our mass transportation plan and everything else, we're talking about
Yeah.
developing
Right.
trails. So do we
Trails.
need to have a minimum and a maximum for our trails?
So,
Or, I mean,
So
Yeah,
these
so-
may not be city dedicated trails, but they will be
Well, I understand.
publicly
Well,
accessible.
this is the property owners too, but then you gotta get into designating a width for a type of activity.
I understand. I'm just, the example Jenny gave was a single track trail, which is fine. But I mean, if we're doing city trails, do we have to do a minimum? And if we're doing city trails, does that require ADA?
so your
I don't
active,
know.
your active
No, it
transportation,
doesn't require ADA.
Yeah.
active transportation is kind of that. It's almost like your transportation is you're trying to get people from one place to the other place inside your community, not necessarily recreation like a hiking trail or a mountain biking trail or a 4-wheeler trail. It's more of a, hey, we want to get little Johnny over here to see his buddy over in another subdivision.
And I think that the one particularly with the hillside, the concern is the bigger they get, the bigger scar they make, the bigger problem it becomes.
And the more
So-
access of non-foot.
Things you don't want to,
Sure.
and that's why I think we're more worried with the width than
Right.
how narrow it is. I think if we're going to make a standard trail requirement, that's a different critter than just what on a hillside. So, because I think it's going to be it's going to be different from the trail down on the flats as well.
Okay, so the way this code is written, it said it shall not exceed 6 feet. So if they want to make a 1-foot trail around the Tokerville Reservoir, it's in the code that they can do that, correct?
Correct.
I would think so.
Okay, just pointing that out, that's all.
But that's going to be our property. So that's,
I'm just saying, this is not the minimum. This is a maximum they could do. So, or do we care about the minimum? That's all I'm asking.
I think this just opens it up to a wide variety of types of trails. So we're gonna have 5,000 linear feet of paved trail per Firelight subdivision. That's really gonna help with our active transportation. These are gonna be more recreation areas where we are mostly foot traffic. Maybe around the reservoir, there will be bikes if they pave it. But other places that we're thinking of putting trails, those might just be little rabbit type
Well,
trails.
and for me, it's minimizes the scarring, but making it so our maintenance guys can still do their job. That's the balance I'm trying to find in this. Where is 6 feet wide enough? If you're going around there.
The Backcountry Horsemen of America will take their horses on trails and do maintenance for you if you want.
Yeah, they have small
We have
machines.
JD and his crew all get equestrian training.
The reality is, these trails require smaller equipment. They have smaller machines and skid steers
Okay.
and all that, and most of it's hand work, so. On the maintenance should be mitigated.
6 foot's good
If
enough.
it's a small trail, it should be
Yeah,
easier to maintain.
Mine goes on 40 inches and
Does it?
take any attachment with it I want, so.
All right.
Fit
You
through
drive a
most
vehicle on
of
6 foot and it'll break all the edges off every time.
it. You shouldn't be driving a vehicle on it at all.
They will. A 6 foot trail, a 6 foot trail on a 30-foot slope, that's gonna be minimum of 18 feet of disturbance to build a 6 foot trail after finished product. I just want you to realize that. That's 2.7%.
Yeah.
So you got 6 feet of trail, you better add another shoulder, so you got 8 feet. So in 8 feet, you're dropping off another 6, you're 18 feet, or you're 20 feet, possibly 22 feet. That's the scar you'll have going up a 30% slope. And it won't look nice because you have a back slope. And it'd have to be a 2-to-1 at least, not a 1-to-1.
Well, you're talking,
Road on your trail.
if you go straight up a slope, then we'll be able to mitigate that. them shoulders
You can
on both
straight
sides.
up.
But if you're going on a cross slope, then you're gonna have it, so.
It could be different.
A lot of these trails, I think I see predicting on these steep slopes, you're gonna be traversing the side to get up and then coming back down and coming get back up, and some will go straight up. I just don't like the idea of cutting up anything on the hillsides. Everybody's learned lessons from that, and we're not learning a lesson right here.
One of my things when you're talking about this is you can build a road at 20, in a 20% slope, and you're gonna have the same scar up and below, and it's gonna be bigger, right? So there's standards for these people to come in and submit the thing and say, I wanna build this road on 20%, and our hillside ordinance allows it, right?
You shouldn't.
It does.
Then put the
Because
trail right side of the
because
road.
They have to mitigate the number of houses, they have to mitigate the cut, to mitigate the slope, the amount of the slope of the road and the range, the drainage, and so, I mean, there's gotta be still a way that we can do the same,
Well, then put your trail up to 20% aside the road and stay off the 30s.
I agree, I think 30 is really tough, because, yeah, but I mean, it's like, just saying at 20%, there's still gotta be a way to do the same construction and the same standards that are in the hillside ordinance, and make sure we can make that trail proper, right?
If you follow the road, but you start deviating from the road, then you gotta climb this 30% or whatever's there.
So
You
if
gotta-
you're, but if you're gonna deviate from the road and you go straight up, well, it's a lot easier.
Straight up, that's pretty tough when you start
But it
getting
is,
over
but I'm
12%.
saying that, but like, you can go at a straighter angle and have less impact, and you're not gonna have the shoulders that you're gonna worry about. You might disturb some areas and have to reclaim them, but you're not gonna have these huge ups and downs on either side.
Are these gonna be bike trails or pedestrian trails?
All the above, I'm guessing.
You start pushing the bike above 12% and you're asking for trouble.
Pedal bike.
Pedal bike, yeah.
Okay.
Because they're gonna struggle, but then they're gonna go fast downside and you're gonna have trouble with it.
Well, I'm
St.
not
George is 8% max. I've got away with 10, but they don't allow that. It's too steep good for hikers, but.
I'm not pedaling up 2%. I'll do the 8% going down.
Yeah, you're gonna go down a 30%er? That'd be a fun ride as long as it softens the shoe in the bottom.
Well, maybe it's stair trails only over 15%.
Well, you could,
Instead of trying to do.
we've still gotta connect some walking and some biking trails to that. And I think a lot of these roads will allow you that. The one we're kind of thinking about that, it would allow you to follow that road and then they could break it off in other areas.
Okay.
So we're not destroying a whole nice piece that nobody can build on, it can stay nice, just to build a trail. When the trails are optional, we can put them anywhere we can fit them. And I don't necessarily like them alongside the road the whole way,
Yeah.
but it can be alongside that road for ways and it can get off of it when the geography lets it do it.
Let me throw in a non-engineering question. Have we got anything that requires that they show that they're not where we're getting off into hills and stuff now? That they're not disturbing any antiquities, or we got anything covered in that they can't build it where they're gonna tear out some, like Devil's Hole, they can't go cut through Devil's Hole, they can't, if they find any Indian artifacts, they have
We
to
have
stop.
we have
anything like
sensitive
that.
lands.
We have our sensitive lands. We don't require like an environmental assessment.
They go down there.
We do require them to let us know if it's in a take area.
There's no archaeology or anything like that that we require. Okay. Either. So like,
Do we have anything anywhere saying if they do hit something, they have to stop until it's clarified?
just to help this, the sensitive lands.
Private property is a whole different story than
Yeah.
BLM. You're thinking a lot of BLM.
Right.
Private property isn't, you're not required to do that.
Right. Okay. Did you guys resolve your issue down there?
I think we might need to look at something a little bit different on this, but I don't know exactly what it would be to make sure that, there is a difference between building a trail laterally through a 30% or 20% compared to straight up
Right.
percentage. I do think there's gonna be a bigger issue on that than there could be. Because like, if you look at the stairs at St. George, I mean, yeah, they had a disturbance. They had a problem they were fixing to create the disturbance, and they mitigated it pretty good. But if you were to do something like that up a cross slope, you're talking about a whole different visual scar than this is even.
So you're talking about, you got the grade of the hill, so you're talking about the grade of the trail as well?
Well, I'm just talking about going crossways through the
Right.
slope or straight up a slope. Because
Okay.
what Wayne's talking about, going crossways through that slope, that could create a big issue.
Yeah, you've still got to cut
Right.
over and then down, so to fill the cut.
Yeah.
No matter what you do on 20% or even 30, even worse. The
That's
further you go up,
the
the further you lay back.
reservoir trail.
You what?
That would be what the reservoir trail would be.
Exactly, that would be-
Yeah. Yeah, your reservoir trail would be basically following the contour of the hillside. And you will have your spoils on the downhill and the cut on the uphill, like Wayne's talking about. It'll vary what that is depending on the steepness of the hill. Because at a 20% is a lot different than at a 30%.
So if you're trying to stay down on the contour of the hill by the water edge, which
Yeah, I'm thinking if you stayed close to the water's edge, just fall, you're going to have a scar there, but it's not as visible if you went up 20 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it needs to have a path all the way around it. And
well, and in reality, by the water, you're gonna want to be right about it. But how do we get that verbiage in this? Because this is not just for the reservoir. I mean, this is for anybody.
That's what I'm
Needs
saying,
to be
is if you
something
follow
that
the same
looks
standards that are laid out for the roads inside the hillside ordinance, then you would have the same standards for building that trail.
Okay.
But there's gotta be a little bit of a difference because you're not gonna have any drainage. You're not gonna have a storm drain. You're not gonna have.
Yeah.
That there's gonna be some variances. I don't know, maybe we should look at a little bit deeper in that.
So there was, Wayne remember this as well as myself, but when they were cutting the irrigation ditches in, and those were only 4 or 6 feet wide-ish, and building those concrete in that Flume Hollow, and as you got out there towards Westfield and as you went around that, you can still see those actually.
Yep.
However many years later, but those are the old irrigation ditches. So if that's what you're looking at a 6-foot trail or thereabouts, is something to that effect on that type of a slope,
And that
because
was-
you're hitting I want to say some of those were across 10% or 20 maybe at the most.
And that was mainly done by hand and not a lot of machines, right?
Yeah, well, there's some that were concrete. I remember those.
yeah,
But it's not like they were driving.
And you could see them,
concrete,
as you're driving on State Route 17, you could look over towards the fields and you could see what they call the Westfield ditch, they could call and the other ditch here on the east side. But that's what you're gonna see, you
They
really
scooped it
are.
out. They just scooped it out and made a mound right here.
Yeah,
So the mound actually
Hid.
wasn't that big, but it hid the scar.
yeah, exactly. So what I'm saying is there's ways to mitigate that scar.
So I guess the thing is, tonight, we're not ready to,
No.
this needs to have some work done.
Yeah,
We need to work on it somehow. We need to.
I looked at the Springdale one
We'll go get
while
some trails.
I was reading and doing homework on this. And it also had a requirement about no fill used anywhere on a trail on a hillside. And I kind of liked that requirement because I think one of the things we are all concerned about is the visual. And that, I feel like if you say that you can't do that, it makes it so it has to be a small trail that hugs the hill and doesn't cut. And
Can you explain that?
So, yeah, so basically it's what what we're just talking about with those irrigation ditches is basically they were cutting into the hillside and they weren't putting the spoils downhill.
Yeah.
So, they were keeping them up there like a berm on the side of the trail or on the side of the ditch. And it'd be the same concept of what you're talking about, is they cut it out and remove that dirt rather than push it down the hill, because they can haul it off.
Well, a lot of cities too are not, they're building trails, they're not building, mountain bikes and walkers where they're building them out of dirt.
Yeah.
Because they're in a sensitive area, so they're keeping the footprint down.
Yeah.
And they're well used. And there's really not much maintenance as long as they keep foot traffic on it.
Yeah.
But usually they put a little chat down on it.
Yeah, I think we should really probably design or designate between paved trails. Walking trails.
Walking trails are really nice.
All right.
Yeah.
Paving trails end up costing us a lot of money in the long run, but.
Yeah.
So take it away and
Maintenance.
Paved trails,
work it a little bit.
paved trails are gonna be more visual impact. They will be.
Okay. We have a motion to table.
Mayor, make a motion to table business item G5.
Yep.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion to second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 6, discussion and possible action on zone change for general plan amendment application. Fees paid by Nolan and Laura Pearson for tax ID number T-149. Who's covering this one?
I can do it, or go ahead. So in fact, actually, Ms. Eaton can actually confirm this, but this is part of the cleanup problem with all the agricultural splits that happened with some of your property. There was a parcel on Pearson's that was just under 1 acre, so they left it as residential. And so my recommendation was to not charge him the fees because they couldn't legally change it back to agricultural because it was under 1 acre.
Well, you've got a lot of properties that have had houses that have been built on 0.9 acres if you go up Sunset Drive.
Well, I'm just talking about the
And yes,
ag cleanup
that should have been taken care of.
should have been taken care of in the past. And so that's why I asked to get his fees back because he shouldn't have had to do.
It shouldn't have been changed in the first place.
This seems like a reasonable request to me.
Yeah.
There were 2 opportunities for that to be fixed. And I don't know what happened with planning commission when they said, not this one. And there's actually 2 other parcels, or actually another parcel that is a little sliver of a parcel, which you would end up with a island inside of an agricultural area, which makes no sense. But the fact that he actually owns both parcels and I can do a lot line adjustment.
Well, and I thought when we were on planning commission, I thought we cleaned most of these up and then they took another shot at it. And I thought it was all done, so.
Well,
I
the
think
problem was
that when
that
it came
the map, the zone map
Yeah.
is incorrect.
All right, so you make the motion?
Well, didn't we incur some money on that? We spent money doing this.
Well,
There never should have been any money spent on it.
should have had to spend money because it was the city that made the error. When they updated the zoning map, it just changed.
So he doesn't have to do nothing?
Well, no, he came in and he applied for the zone change last meeting.
Yeah.
And
He
then
did
what
already.
I'm saying is give them their money back for applying for the zone change because it was a city mistake.
Well, it's not just the zone change, it's the.
And a general plan
Yeah,
amendment as well.
there's two fees in there, yeah.
But he still wants to do that though, right?
Yeah,
He wants to go to a
it switched it back to ag from residential.
So
and
will they
went back to ag.
redo another application?
No, it doesn't have to do, we're just talking about the fees and.
No, what he's saying is it should have been agriculture in the first place. City changed it to residential when it shouldn't have been changed to residential. So he came in to do the zone change and general plan change to take it back to ag when it shouldn't have been moved from ag in the first place.
Okay, I get it.
I'm still confused on when this occurred and how it occurred.
It was quite a while back and they came through and did a swath of stuff and changed a bunch of residential.
It was done in 2020 and then it was done again
So we didn't have to do anything.
prior to
Every time we did
So-
that.
whenever Tiebreaker slept.
So I'm understanding, it was originally ag, correct?
Okay, no,
No, it was
let
originally.
me tell you what happened. You want me to give it
Sure,
short?
yeah.
Yeah.
Give them the education.
Approximately, and I don't have a date, in the early 90s or late 80s, zoning was applied to the entire town.
Okay.
There was not the correct process. In order to do zoning, you have to have meetings, you have to notify the property owners and everything else. And that's how certain areas got zoned. You had everything from MU20, Ag 1, R12. There was only 4 or 5 designations. MU20, Ag 1,
Highway commercial,
hang on,
R12.
R12, R20, R1,
Yeah.
120, and then you had highway commercial, and then there was the neighborhood commercial as well. So you had all of those in there, and it was just plotted on the property. Well, there was stuff that was plotted on the property, and I'm going to use mine as my property that my family owns as an example. Where we have our cows, that was where the front along the highway, that was zoned as agriculture. It was zoned residential. It should never be residential. It had animals on it. If my parents had been notified and they were not, they would have protested that, because there's no point in us going,
Okay.
and you do things in agriculture that you can't do in residential, the things you do in residential. You
okay.
couldn't. So in 2020, there was a whole swath that went through, and there were and I'm not sure what triggered this to be taken care of. In a meeting with Ben and the mayor, I stated what it was that I thought the reasoning behind that swath. But this and everything from and then later everything, and it was supposed to be everything from Westfield Bridge between the highway and the creek was supposed, and going south towards the cemetery, was supposed to be taken back to what it should have been, which was agriculture.
Okay.
In the planning commission, they wrote out several parcels. There were 3 parcels. One was down closer to the cemetery. There was one that was a little sliver parcel halfway up, and then the other parcel was the one that is in question, which is owned by it was Randy Pearson's property, which is now Nolan Pearson's property. And that was made, that was kept out of because it didn't meet the 1 acre requirement. Well, it doesn't matter whether your property is 1 acre or not in order to go back to the zoning that should have been in the first place. The 1 acre requirement in ag just says you cannot build a building on it, meaning a commercial building or a residential building without that full acre. You can put a barn on it, and you can put animals on it, you can do everything else on that, but you can't do the other.
Okay.
So it got removed from that when it should not have gotten removed. But there's still some other things that need to be cleaned up as well beyond this one. But since this is the only one you're talking about, Nolan Pearson's property, and had that map been done correctly.
So way back, this was ag.
In the 90s, yeah.
Somewhere when the.
No, way back, there was a zone change applied in the ag, and this process was not followed.
Right.
The city was going back and
No,
changed it
I
back
got
to
that
what it
part.
should have been, and it should have been ag.
Right.
Okay.
His was removed, that piece was removed because it didn't meet the 1 acre
Right.
parcel. But if it was already before, it should still be put back to what it was before.
Okay. We thought we had this cleaned up, and I was surprised to see there's still some outstanding on this. So this is one of them that needed to be cleaned up. He shouldn't have paid the fees because it should have been ag to start with. That's kind of where we're at.
Right, so it was originally ag, then the.
City did an overlay, didn't do it
Did an
right.
overlay, and it became residential.
We thought we changed them all back.
Right.
Didn't.
And missed that one, and then he came in to do it, but because the original mistake was the city's, that's why we're
We're
requesting.
saying, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Thanks, Anita. I got it.
You ready for a motion?
Yeah, go for it, Lane.
I make a motion, business item G6. I move to approve a refund of the zone change and general plan amendment application fees paid by Nolan and Laura Pearson for tax ID T-149 in the amount of $2,200.
Second. We have a motion to second, for roll call.
Aye.
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 Motion passes. All right. Item number 7, discussion possible action on change order 003 in the amount of $16,972 and 50 cents for the import and spread of topsoil in Westfield Park. And looking on the list, this is the last non-city employee item, correct, in the park? I think.
Sorry, non-city.
This is the last item that a contractor is doing, everything.
This is cost, it's a change order.
I know this order, the last one, because all the rest of it's going to be city.
Done by the.
Yes,
Right,
yes.
city employees.
Well, yeah, we don't foresee anything else.
Right.
What really kind of did this was basically once they, on that southwest corner of the park, as they dug down and got it down to grade to where they could have a flat grassy there, it's mostly caliche clay, rock. About a third of that grass area is not very good soil. So what they did is Interstate Rock is they sifted out the good soil and pulled all the rocks out and took a lot of the big rocks out. And they've got that put down, but they've only got roughly about maybe 2-3 inches of dirt on top of that rock. And to where we're going to be planting grass. They said, we can bring in some topsoil, and so optimally it would be about a foot of dirt over that grass area. And I don't know how many of you have been out there and taken a look at where they're at, but you can see it's very defined where the grass area is right now. So what they proposed to this change order, and they said, this would be a not to exceed. They said we could bring in this dirt and essentially spread it out, topsoil. And, with them, they can bring it in. They got the machinery to spread it out. They've got the different things like that, or we can pay the guys to do it, but they'll be a long time doing it with that little tiny dump truck that they've got. Essentially, and then we'll still have additional cost and such as that. Now, Interstate Rock said, this is up to you guys. If you want this change order, they can go for it. They can, if we want to change the change order and say, hey, just do half of it, they'll do half of it. We still might only have just enough, barely enough. They're suggesting 12 inches over that entire site would possibly be this price, but they said we possibly can save some money, but we don't know at this point in time. So they put a not to exceed dollar number. That's that 16,000 that's before you tonight.
They had a whole bunch of good dirt there. What did they do with it?
It was there.
They had a big pile of nice.
Well, we took
the
alluvial material off the top of the, so they pushed it down where those pickleball courts are. They've used it in the pickleball courts and down in that other lower area because it was put up there. I would say we probably had about 10 to 15 side dumpers dumped there from JP on that alluvial material that was on the cut of the hog's back. That was the material you're talking about. As they dug down, they found a couple places they had to go down around 6 feet because they were still finding organic materials. So a lot of that went back in that hole. They recompacted the native materials to some degree. They didn't bring in just a bunch of road base and put all 5 feet of road base in there. They put the existing good material back in there. And that's where that material went. Yes, you are right.
Well, they probably need at least 12 inches to put a sprinkler system in there.
Yeah, and that's why they said we probably need the 12 inches.
So how soon do you think
Sorry, did I say something wrong?
us as a city want to mess with that grass and try to deal with that?
What?
How soon does the city think they're going to plant grass down there?
July.
Yeah.
That soon?
Yep.
Oh,
So they would like to, so JD and the guys, the public works guys, they would like to try to get in there as soon as they can to start putting the sprinkler system, the lines for the sprinkler system. And yes, we would like they would like a foot of dirt. But if we don't do this change order, it will take additional time for them to get that dirt in placed, and they place it with a mini X or a skid steer, essentially, in a backhoe.
Where they get their topsoil? It's not going to be crusher fines. It's going to be something good for $22.30.
Yeah, it's I could find out exactly what pit it's coming from. It's coming from one of their pits.
As long as it's not crusher fines.
No.
That won't grow.
Yeah, exactly. I talked to Colby about that. It's Colby Stratton. You guys know him. I told him we don't want that. He says they're
Can't dig a hole in pressure fines.
How much? Well, they just don't, it won't support long.
Yeah,
That's what my house is built on. Trust me, you can't dig a hole in pressure.
So how much money do we save by shortening the concrete on the gazebos?
It's in that change order number one. I'd have to go back and.
Change order.
I know, but
I want to say it was
I'm
about.
saying that's a bad idea.
I would say we probably got 16 grand is what we saved.
16?
That was counted, that was,
That was a total of the concrete and the additional storm drainage pipes.
that was accounted for in the first change order.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's a mistake to take it out. If you go out and look at them now, the slabs are so small in there. Is there any way that we have the money somewhere, robbed from somewhere to
Put it
do
back
the
in.
right way?
If you want to put them back in,
Well,
I don't know, that's Ben's.
I went out and seen what they had dug out today, and I mean,
yeah.
guys, you could barely
It
put a
is-
picnic table underneath.
It's
it.
small.
You're gonna get one table underneath each one of those.
Yeah, it's not, it's
And maybe
not.
four or six under the big one.
Well,
Maybe.
everybody realized why we tried to cut that. They wanted to cut that out because it was an unforeseen expense of that over
Yeah.
excavation. They were
Right.
going, oh my goodness gracious, it's, when you start over excavating,
Yeah.
it costs a lot of money.
Yeah.
We just can never go back and add to it after you do what you're gonna do to it. Because it'll be concrete meeting concrete, it'll crack, it won't be. Man, if there was any way in the budget, we could put that back in somehow. Without me donating the money to do it.
I don't know.
Because it needs to be done.
You're gonna donate the money?
You're talking about going back out to tying them into the pillars on the.
Yeah, put it back where originally had planned, because they dug it out now and you can see it and it's just so small.
We go back to what we should have done. We should have never put those things in the first place. But
We can't really make that decision here and allocate money. That we have a
No.
change order in front of us on this one. We have to bring that up again at the next council.
Well, we're gonna have to.
It's too late because they're gonna prep them and pour them here right away.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty close to getting, they've got them compacted and.
I mean, you want to cover, and you want to get the bolts and all that around cement, you want to get the caps on them, and if you do it now, we're going to regret doing it, and we can't ever fix it later or add to it. You could, but it'd be shabby looking.
Let's increase the value on this to a not to exceed 32,000 and then.
Well, it's not 16, there's no way.
I know that.
That price was 16 on that concrete.
So
Can we get a real-time price?
the concrete that they took out was $17,000 on the large pavilion. And on the small pavilions, it was about a little over 3,000.
Do you want to have 3,000 back for the small pavilion?
17,000 for the small pavilion? they took
That
out?
was the big one.
That was the big
They're
one.
already formed up and that's gonna be another change order in labor. It's gonna be more than $3,000. You're probably talking 6 or 7 to.
Well, I can't imagine that
'Cause-
big pavilion having concrete there and still missing $17,000 for the concrete.
So that was 650 square feet off of that large pavilion.
650?
Square feet. Off of the small ones, it was 100 square feet.
So 650 into $17,000. How much a yard is that? That flat work shouldn't go for any more than $675 at today's price.
$26.
Yeah, it's $26.99.
$26 a yard.
$26.99. The other one was $31.31 per square foot on the smalls. This is per the change order that we approved.
No, I'm just bringing it up because before we make this move.
I think to tell you
Our money at.
I think to tell you the truth, they were probably inflating the price because it was a decrease. So
That's
they were inflating it for a decrease.
Square
Now,
foot.
if we asked them to put it in, I don't know what that would be. To put it back in, we need to jump on it as quick as because
Well, the numbers you just threw out would be 29,000 put back in.
That's way too much for concrete.
Oh, I know that.
Simply.
yeah, if it's that same price, but
That's flat work, $675.
I would need to talk to them
tops.
because then
Then you're gonna have to drill it into the footings on the, right?
Well, they
to
gotta
tie
pour,
it in.
they pour around those and then close those, and then they get a cap on the
Well,
bolt.
then you're talking about more square footage than what they took out.
No, because it originally went out past those.
Did it?
Yeah, it goes out past those, past the
Alright.
pillars.
We're not gonna be able to do it tonight.
no.
There was a budget question. I think it's important to note. The city has about 5% remaining in contingency funds, which amounts to just under $30,000. So there's an allocation between fiscal years, so it's likely there will have to be a budget amendment. But as far as actual dollars in the bank dedicated to park construction, it's $27,000.
Look at it this way. Go down to the Tocqueville Park and look at the pavilion, look where the concrete's at. Take that in about 7 or 8 feet and how you would, it's just gonna look stupid. I don't say we have to do it, but I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, I'm okay with the topsoil.
On the big pavilion, we could add a skirt 10 foot later, but on the small ones, it's gonna be really hard. So I'd say if you're gonna do anything, do the small ones.
So I could ask, I could ask them to see what to put that back in. If that's the same unit price, then, maybe it's a no.
Well, what you're gonna have to do is ask them to come back then, because we're not gonna be able, if you're gonna stop them from pouring, because it's not gonna get approved until next council meeting. And they're ready to pour now, so you're either gonna tell them stop work, or you're gonna approve a number now that you think it's gonna be.
They'll be pouring probably next week sometime.
I'm just being realistic. You're either gonna tell them not to pour.
Yep.
Right? Throw gravel in underneath the small ones, put skirt around the big one.
Yeah.
And we'll deal with the small ones later. I'm just trying to, that's our option. We tell them not
I'd
to
say
pour.
go opposite, pour the big one as,
The small ones is.
the small ones are the problem. You just
Okay.
fix the small ones and leave the big one as is.
Well, the big one's the problem. Do the big one and leave the small ones out. We'll pour them ourselves.
Yeah, the big one we can add on a big skirt easy.
Yeah, but you're gonna have that big old seam all around there.
You can have
I don't know how much. Yeah,
All right.
I don't know. It's up to you guys.
You know,
I said my piece.
Or we hold off on all the concrete right now. But you really don't want to try and get the concrete in after we start putting sprinklers and grass in either.
So you don't.
yeah, well, they've got conduits.
So you're either going to tell them stop, or we're going to figure a number that we think it's going to be not to exceed.
You don't have a pavilion when it rains and it just drips off into the dirt. You have concrete. It's just, yeah.
Can
And we
we
can't
call
approve-
Colby right now and ask him? these
He's
questions?
actually at scout camp, he's at scout
He's at
camp
scout camp.
he's at scout camp until
Well, we can't-
Saturday night.
We can't approve money above money we have either.
We could call a special meeting.
Huh?
We could call a special meeting if we needed to. Next week.
I think we can add on to both of them, actually. You might have that bigger joint, that big roll joint, but you can fill 6 foot or something like that easy.
So you're not gonna landscape
Because if they're-
everything, you're gonna leave everything, you can have all this nice grass and everything, there's gonna be this dirt strip here between them, or are you thinking about tearing it out here and trying to
I think we could tear it out later and do it because.
The lower half's
They already have
desert landscape, isn't it?
They already have the forms all set up. They're gonna
No,
tear-
they were still digging it, they were digging them out, just scratching out underneath there, getting the dirt
I
out.
think so, because there's only grass in there.
That's what I heard, but I've never seen the drawing. So
Perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's solid.
I heard the upper part was grass and the lower part was desert landscape.
I think that's correct.
You could drive a cement truck across the dirt. You just can't drive it across all the grass.
You're gonna make fix repairs and cactuses next to the pavilions and
Right now,
grass everywhere.
That's the plan, I think. I have never seen a complete drawing of it, so I had no idea.
We have enough to cover the 6.
I didn't know we didn't have lights either.
Of the
So,
park.
yeah, we can take it over later.
Yeah.
Is it just contingency for the park only?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can go with plans if you'd like.
I'd like to see one that actually shows where stuff is. I've seen the engineered ones.
Oh, that's the one.
Yeah, I haven't seen an architectural drawing that's showing, okay,
Oh,
there's trees and grass here and sprinklers go here.
Yes,
And
we've got all those ones, we've got all the drawings.
yeah, as I say, I've never seen a current, so.
No, we didn't create one because we were trying to save
No, I
money.
haven't either. I don't
Okay.
think they have a plan.
Anyway, on topsoil,
On with number 7.
do we have a motion to approve the topsoil or?
$22.30 a freaking yard. It better be good topsoil.
Install.
Install, yeah.
It is
It's the
installed.
labor.
It is installed. It's
So if we
spread.
commit to that, we gotta hurry up so the tumbleweeds grow.
Yeah.
Well, and I've already told him not to put pressure pines in there.
Okay, good.
All right.
The wind blows it away.
Yeah, it's just hard.
All right, folks, it's 8:46.
Seems
Do we have
like
a
a
motion
good
on this
idea.
one?
I'll say we approve change order 003 in the amount of up to 17,000, not to exceed 17,000 for the change order at the Westfield Park.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second, roll call.
Aye.
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 Motion carries. Do we have any direction for staff on concrete?
I'd look at it, because it's a big mistake doing what you're doing.
I'll have the conversation.
And maybe it's not-
It'll be Monday morning. I need to, first thing tomorrow, I'll go up tomorrow
Okay.
and talk to the guy because everybody knows it's
Maybe we can work a deal or something.
If we need a special meeting, we can, I'm willing to.
I'll go out and see everybody tomorrow. See what I can get.
Councilman Olson has a beautiful yard, so I really want to listen to his judgment in this matter.
We could take that grass up and move down there.
All right, folks. We're all getting punchy and we're not even on drugs. All right. I think we should call a special meeting when I'm really drugged up. That'll be really good.
Probably on like
Let's do one Friday. All right.
items.
Now, item number 7. Oh, no, that was number 7 we just approved. Work items, discussion on annexation boundaries. You want to lead this one or you want me to lead this one?
I'm happy to kind of start the conversation. So our annexation plan was adopted in 2024. Prior to that, there was the conversation that happened with future developers in the area, and essentially they were told that there was no annexation plan in place. So they're kind of turned away from what I understand. We are looking at the annexation area to determine if it's sufficient, so we're not put in that same position again. As far as I'm aware, there's not like a limitation besides annexations. It has to be directly adjacent. That's one thing I really wanted to clarify with annexations. You can't create islands. And so there has been some questions on a potential annexation petition that's been in front of the city council as to, you know, being on the fringe of the annexation area, but it is directly adjacent to the current municipal boundaries. So Emily, if you want to bring up that first map, it's kind of small. Oh, it's really small actually. Could you zoom in on that bottom left area? So the green area is our current annexation area. And if we were to say that the city would want to have any adjacent property within our annexation map that is not currently in an incorporated area, we would increase the size of the annexation map to that pink hatched area. So everything that is not hatched is Leeds. You can see where Leeds is. Leeds kind of has like a U-shaped municipal boundary. And we could, another thing to note is that annexation maps between cities, there's no problem with them overlapping.
Right.
It's not that we have to have congruent annexation areas. We can definitely overlap with other cities. So this would be maybe if we were wanted to make sure that all the areas that could be annexed into Tocqueville would be. Now the south area is a lot of that's desert reserve.
Yep.
But you know, I think it's just this is the reason that we're having this discussion is that are there future areas or are there areas that we want to pull into the annexation map more than what we currently have. And then I also did kind of like an extreme version of the map. This is what Emily's pulling up now, right? And so this is basically where you're like, okay, any area that's like adjacent, let's just go ahead and pull it into an annexation. Just, you know, in the event that there's some huge development happens and you create this path to a future area. This is obviously very extreme. I acknowledge that. But if there's like future I-15 corridor to the north, for example, towards New Harmony, I didn't include the New Harmony boundaries here, but it is interesting to note that New Harmony is quite a small area. The municipal boundaries are small. A lot of what people refer to as New Harmony, what you can see from I-15 is actually not New Harmony. That's unincorporated county. And so Tocqueville, if desired, could expand the annexation area in order to create, more local control if desired in future annexation petitions.
Go ahead, Anita.
Don't you have to have private property inside in order to do that? The city can't annex property in.
No, we're not.
No, and I'm not saying that the city is, but you have to designate a future interest, your annexation interest area. But in order for an annexation to take place, a private property owner is the one that has to do the annexation. And with that, they can bring in other properties such as PLM, Forest Service, SITLA, and Water Conservancy District.
Right, and this would just be for our primarily administrative issues, identifying the annexation area. So when we do go through and update some of our policies and impact fee statements and our surveys, that it's incorporated within those. I don't see any downside of increasing the annexation area. I do see an issue from what's been brought up recently on not having areas inside our annexation area. So
I think that if we were to address this, the most practical areas to be would be those pink areas, even though it's desert reserve, right? There could be a future in which that is no longer within the reserve. And then also along the I-15, north toward along the I-15 corridor would make sense to expand that.
I agree. Do we have to do like public hearings to expand that?
Yeah, it's a process for it. Mm-hmm.
And speaking with someone who had done land stuff like this before and talking to Hurricane's mayor, the reason they expanded their area so large and their city limits and their annexation areas is simply to protect the city. And that is, if you're going to come in, you're inside our annexation area. If it's a development coming in, you're already part of our annexation area. So if we choose to try and allow you to annex or annex it, it's already considered in the areas. But if you're not if they come in like, well, we're dealing with a development right now that was not in our annexation area, was not in our impact fee studies, which creates an argument that doesn't impact us because we weren't part of your study. So if our annexations are large enough to incorporate areas we're concerned about, then that eliminates that piece of an argument and puts us on not on a defensive side on it. We're already covered.
It's pretty low cost, low threshold. It's not significant effort. There's some staff time tied to, amending this map, but it's not, maybe a couple $100 to get it. Actually, this is just done in an image editing software, but actually to get it into the GIS is really the only direct cost that would be involved in doing something like this.
I'm for it.
Any comments?
I'm for it. Like to include it in.
Doesn't
Doesn't mean we have to.
Like
Quite a bit would be sensitive.
Well, it's not saying we're annexing it.
We're not
It's
annexing.
We're not
just,
annexing
you're just
anything.
adding it to the plan so that
Just adding it to the
it
policy.
potentially could be part of our.
Up by where my mother-in-law used to live, it used to be tortoise land, but apparently all the tortoises moved because now it's all developed. So is it sensitive land? It is today.
Where'd they move to?
Yeah. Here, they're going to get greedy because they can annex it now and then take that out of sensitive area and build houses.
Well, all we're saying is we're not annexing. We're just saying it's in our area in case something down the road changes.
Well, can't somebody else come and annex on top of you?
Yeah, Leeds could.
Yeah, Leeds could.
Leeds could take any of it, or we could take it, or.
I think we already currently overlap Leeds annexation. So we're already overlapping. Each city looks at their own items. As I say, you're not physically actually doing anything. You're just identifying an area on a map.
If you don't identify it and someone else does it, you will not be notified. But if you do express interest in an area and there's something that does impact, for example, the road has to come through your municipality and you get to maintain it or something like that, you have no say in it.
There's a lot of pluses. I don't see any real negatives to it.
I agree.
Sounds like we'll move forward with that direction.
All right. Discussion item number 2, discussion on recreational development of Chief Toker Reservoir.
So we have, as you know, we have a Chief Toker Reservoir Recreation Committee. I think it's important to note from the start that it's been discussed with the committee, but we had a meeting with state parks and this portion has not been discussed with the committee yet. So, but the next meeting isn't for a little bit. So we wanted to bring council up to speed on a meeting that we had with the state parks, the director of state parks. Essentially what we're wanting to do is, I had a couple notes here, make sure that, and this was discussed with the committee, that we are considering all options as far as how this recreation area can be developed. And the committee did give direction to meet with state parks. And so this is a follow-up to that. A couple notes that I made. I don't think there's been kind of been back and forth between this being a city park and being a state park over the 15 years this has been discussed. Most recently, in the last couple of years, the focus has been on making this a city park. And so I've been working on identifying how we would be able to fund that. If we wanted to include improvements, such as water and electric as it's currently designed, and it's also required by the permit, the BLM, the recreation permit, requires certain aspects to it. So it would require these improvements to be made to it. We're looking at costs very roughly in the realm of $10 million to build this park. So I've been able to identify about $1 million in external funding. So through grants, TRT money, Office of Outdoor Recreation, that we could get for this project. That leaves quite a project deficit for Tocqueville City, which essentially, if it was the number one priority of the council, we could, in theory, make that happen. It would be financed long-term, secured by future impact fees. So essentially, if we were to build this park at this point as designed and as required by the BLM, we would be tying up our impact fees pretty much indefinitely.
Let me carry on a little bit. When we first started on this and got into the history of it and why the city grabbed this and tried keeping it, I'm not quite sure, but it come up with the committee members as well. My concern it was more on what do we do after it's built? The staffing it's going to take to maintain it. If you're going to put any kind of a camping area in, all the resources that's going to take, is the city ready to commit to that? That's outside of the build portion of it, which I don't know where we're going to get the money to build it. So from the committee standpoint, we were looking at phasing it into at least three separate phases, a small piece, a medium piece, and a larger piece, still needing to meet the BLM requirements that we have to meet, that we're committed to. A couple of the committee members brought up that we don't have the money to do this. I brought up that on the long term, I don't think we have the people and the money to maintain it. And what would we have to charge for people to go into it in order to cover our maintenance cost to do it? It made a lot more sense, and that was what brought up, Corey had brought up from the Conservancy District that initially the state parks were going to do it. And then Tocqueville put a big push in for the city to do it. And I should be just as happy if we could push it back.
I was told that the state parks told the Water Conservancy District that they didn't want it.
If they stayed with the size of the recreation area that they had, they would have to increase the size of the recreation area to make it so it would pay for itself.
Self-sustaining.
And in Ben's discussion with him, and it depended upon what the council gives direction to, I would follow up with as well, talking with the director of state parks, is what would be the plan, what would be the requirement, what would be the city commitment, and what would be the benefit or detriment to the citizens. I don't see how we can build it and maintain it financially.
So the last plan that I talked about was or that I was not that I talked about, that I heard was maybe just a pavilion or something out there and Fire Lake type thing.
Well, and that's if you're trying to cut a trail in, and that's if we can get the equipment out there to try and cut some roads in for us while they're doing it.
But are you saying that you guys are talking about on the committee as a full RV park and a full, what is this $10 million?
So I think it's important to note that the position of the Conservancy District right now, who has the RPMP through the BLM, the recreation permit through the BLM, is that they are requiring these certain amenities. They're requiring camping facilities. And so our current design has minimal, is it 20 sites?
Right.
Something like that?
In phase 3. I mean, we're trying to phase it, trying to do it where we could actually afford to do a piece of it and still meet the requirements of the BLM piece, which has to have the camping and stuff in it. And I'm just saying, from us trying to do that, even the first phase of it financially, with what we run into with TRT funds limitations and other things, it's a tough one for us to get to. And then with our staff, if we can't have the camping facilities, which is where your money making is, we don't have the staff to maintain it.
Well, you wouldn't have to have staff.
Well, you're gonna have to have some.
You have a dumpster and you don't put, any trash receptacles. You get a camp host in there. And they'll stay there for free and they'll take collect all the money, do all that for you. And they'll stay there for free and they'll go around and patrol it and make a noise. Because I build a lot of these, especially up at Navajo Lake. One guy comes in there and they all want to stay there for the summer and longer, and they just take care of the whole thing. They'll clean the restrooms, and then the Forest Service people will bring them supplies. But they do all that for free just to stay there in that camp spot. So they collect all the funds. So I think the expense is going to be getting it built.
Yeah.
And then there's all these maintenance freeze tables and everything like that. In fact, there's one sitting down the street from the house.
So you
You never have to
asking
do nothing with them.
if we should approach the state to see if they want to take it back?
They would.
Yeah, that was the purpose of this meeting, and they said yes, they would be interested in developing a state park here. Very interested, not just, oh, we'll think about it. This was the director of state parks who said, yes, this is a project that we would take on. They have the funding availability to do it. They have multiple funding sources. They even have the reserves to essentially build the park. That's not to say it would be done next year. It would still be probably a multi-year process.
The big question is, does the city want to take on the burden of it and the responsibility of it? Or,
That's a lot.
I know, or do we want to say, do we want to meet with state parks? And if it's agreeable, we just say, you guys take it.
It seems to me that it will not only be the citizens who will be enjoying this park, and I think it would make sense to give it to the state, because then people from all over the state who are coming here will all share the burden of the cost of.
I just spent a week at Escalante State Park, right next to this little reservoir that's not any bigger than what Chief Toker is going to be. It was a really nice state park, really well designed, and I'm thinking, why would we want to try and do something like that when the state already does that? I mean, we're bordering on something we know nothing about, and they do it all the time.
They have to maintain it, they have to police it.
Yep.
We wouldn't incur an extra cost in the county.
And they did
The
have camp
state's already
hosts
doing
too.
it.
Yeah, and
There.
our census up there might be low because it's hot and then it's windy in the wintertime.
Yeah.
And when they figure out that it's half sewer water, it's probably not going to be attractive as you think it is. But
Well,
they do do a good job, and
They do.
we don't have to
They
worry
do.
about something like that. We got other stuff we can worry about.
I've come up with essentially three reasons that the city may not want to consider it. It's going to be a bigger facility than we have designed. So they said they need minimum of 40 sites in order to make it profitable. And they would probably have 2 employees there year round. The Tocqueville residents would have to pay, you'd have to either buy a state parks pass or pay the day use fee. That's a disadvantage. And the third is that we would essentially lose any control that we have of operations, of design, of use, that sort of thing. So those are the disadvantages. There are a lot of pros that go along with it too. Something that hasn't been mentioned is the kind of economic engine that state parks creates, kind of puts it on the map a little bit more. If that's a priority of the council, that's one advantage. So, and we don't have to find $9 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, then we can choose to buy the day pass.
4 or 5 million for a 30-spot campsite.
Yeah.
With power, water, and sewer.
Yeah.
We were looking at just what it would take to get power and get water and sewer to it. It's not cheap.
No, you're going to be almost 4 to 5 million to do that.
Yeah, so.
If you turn it over to the state, the connectivity from the city to the park would probably have to be cut.
The what?
So if you're putting in a trail that
Yeah,
goes
there's no
from
more
the
trails,
city
there's no more
to
nothing.
the park, to the reservoir,
Right.
then you wouldn't be able to have a backdoor.
Because the day use.
That would be restricted.
As a state park,
If it becomes a state park, you could not access the reservoir from the city through a trail.
From city property.
That would just be.
If it's Forest Service property, they could.
Unless you had a
all
state
want.
pass.
No, you probably still couldn't. They wouldn't want to have to man.
Man the back door to it.
Well, I mean, if you look at Sand Hollow or the entrance under the tunnel with the side-by-sides, there's a big sign that says this is the park pass required, so they could do the same thing for that.
I think that's a great point and something that we should discuss.
I mean, it's just
with
thought
them.
I'd throw it out, but
Yeah.
obviously it wasn't thought of.
Yeah,
But
that's
it
true.
would be somewhere, there is no back door.
Well, there's a few things that we've been mulling around if we're going to go into a discussion on reduced rates for the passes for residents or, I say, other access. So there's a number of things if we decide we want to approach it that way, that we would want to try and get as well.
Well, I don't know that I would guess that should be
Discount,
something.
No, it can't hurt to ask.
Tocqueville residents should be free.
Yeah, that's not going to happen, but
Yeah.
I've already got my annual pass, so.
You're not a very good negotiator then.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
So that's that. I guess the question is the direction of the council is that, do we want to follow up on heading that direction?
I think so.
We should always entertain it and see
Yeah.
what they have to say.
Yeah.
We don't have to make a decision right now, but why would we shut the door?
So yeah, we don't have any rights to develop the recreation area. So if that's the direction, then the Conservancy District will move forward with an agreement between state parks and the city. It would actually probably be a three-way agreement.
Yeah.
Because there is a operations component until the state park is actually up and running that we would probably participate in. So it'd probably be an agreement that would be in front of the council in the future.
See how the chips fall.
Yeah.
So suggest we at least move forward meet with them and have the discussion, include the water district afterwards.
Very
Yeah.
good, thank you.
I can't afford to do that.
That's what we kept running into, so,
Wayne's gonna donate money there too.
well, after he gets the grass.
Cement.
Cement. Oh, you're doing that too? All right, cement and grass.
They'll give
All right.
you for $3 to take up that.
Calendar of events, Independence Day and America's 250th. Let's try and everybody make it if you can, please. I need a volunteer for the dunk tank because my knee can't go in.
I'm
All
out
right.
of town that weekend.
Anniversary celebrations, July 4th at Center Street Park. And we got 24th coming up. It's not on the calendar, but I know there's a parade being planned. So, all right, hope to see you all there.
I'll be there on the 14th.
We need we don't need a closed session tonight, do we?
I make a motion to adjourn.
I
Okay.
second.
There we go. We're adjourned.
All in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Ben?
I was due on a vote on that.